north from San Francisco on Scenic 101, and you'll wind up in Sonoma, the end of the road. Actually, the end of the road course season, one in which Team Penske's willpower has been the toast of 2010. But it's Dario Franchitti from rival Target Chip Ganassi Racing who most recently tasted victory here, and he hopes to spoil Power's title celebration. Sonoma is a popular destination where the culmination of grape growing results in the tasting of fine vintage. And it's home to Infineon Raceway, where 75 laps along the 12 turns of this 2.3-mile course will culminate the road and street portion of the 2010 IZOD IndyCar Series campaign. Welcome to IndyCar Central on Versus, presented by Firestone. I am Lindy Thaxton, and we are so glad you could join us here today for race 13 of 17 of the IZOD IndyCar Series. It's kind of windy, can you tell? Just a little bit. And this is the final road and street course. We've had 9 in a row. From here on out, it's 4 straight ovals, and Versus will be there to capture every single lap from here through the championship. Well, you can bet Will Power has had this day on his calendar for quite some time, not only because it's the final road and street course, which obviously he excels at that, but also because it's been 1 year since his horrific crash here. Coming up in just a little bit, we've got a really good piece on Will's recovery and his return to Sonoma. He's pretty candid. You don't really hear him talk like this too much, so you're going to want to stick around. He's already clinched the Road and Street Championship for this year. He did that back in Mid-Ohio. He has a healthy lead in the overall point standings, but Dario Franchitti took the win at Mid-Ohio. He only gained 9 points on Will, but he may have sent a more important message.
They are on pit lane for the first time today. Will Power just barely got ahead of Dario Franchitti, but as they got to the coast, Franchitti eased in front. Tagliani, Franchitti, Power, Casper Evans, and Briscoe, your top 5. We've got Alex Tagliani. He is now on pit lane. Franchitti beat out Will Power, and they're going to be able to beat out Casper Evans. The final lap, Will Power runs a car length behind Franchitti. Dario Franchitti will win here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course.
Couldn't be happier to be part of Team Target that first pit stop today. God, that won us the race.
Dario Franchitti joins us now. It's windy up here, and it's not good for people with hair like us.
This long hair is playing havoc with it.
We heard you just say the pit stop really did it for you in Mid-Ohio. You give a lot of credit to your crew.
Yeah, absolutely. The boys got it done in very difficult conditions. It was a 35-foot box, which is 5 foot shorter than we normally run with. So I actually thought I wasn't going to be able to get the car into the box on the marks under those circumstances with Scott in his box, or Scott's guys set up, and Will in his box to leave. But I managed to get it in and get it out quickly, and the guys did their job, and that combination just really got it done, and that won us the race.
What do you bring from your win at Sonoma last year into this year?
Well, you've got to be patient at this track. Very, very difficult to pass, but there are some ways to do it. You might not be able to do it on the road. We're going to try and do it on the track, definitely, but if not, we'll try and do it with strategy. The Target boys are phenomenal. As we know, they give me good cars. We've got 400 Target guests over at Turn 7 today, so we've got to get it done. You know, the wind, I've just noticed with the hair blowing, the wind has changed 180 degrees from Friday and yesterday, so that's going to change the way things work today with the car. They change the balance of the car in certain corners, so we'll see what happens.
And can you tell us about this drivers association that you're a part of?
Yeah, it was really Tony Kanaan was the guy who was really pushing for this, and I think it's a great idea. We just need to get all the drivers, give them a voice, because certain of us will go and talk to Brian Barnhart about different things, and Brian's very receptive to our thoughts. And we just wanted to give the whole field a chance to put their thoughts forward in a group, and it's working well so far.
Dario, thank you for your time. We'll let you go.
Thanks, Lindy.
Thank you. And as we have mentioned, Will Power has already clinched the Mario Andretti Trophy as the top IZOD IndyCar Road and Street Course racer. Power leads Franchitti by 88 points, and most points available to any one driver today would be 52. Power's lead over Franchitti is down to 42 points in the overall championship. But expect Dario and his Ganassi teammate Scott Dixon to chip away at that lead over the final 4 races on ovals. And these 9 road and street course races have been the most IndyCar has raced in one season. It's been a really exciting part of the season to watch, if you ask me. Yes, Will Power did dominate, but 5 different drivers went to victory lane, and 8 drivers celebrated podium finishes. We'll talk to 2 of those drivers when IndyCar Central on Versus, presented by Firestone, continues.
IndyCar Central pre-race is presented by Firestone, the first name in Indy racing.
On Thursday, IZOD brought together our road course champion and the legend the trophy is named after, voted by you, the fans, Mario Andretti and Will Power. You can see Mario driving there. They arrived downtown in traditional San Francisco form on a trolley. And then Mario presented the trophy to Will Power. And that trophy that you see right there, guess what? I've got it right here. And Will Power is going to be presented this after the race today. He has said it is such an honor to have a trophy with Mario Andretti's name on it. We got another good-looking thing right here. This is the trophy that the winner of the race will get. And then there's also this goblet here. Obviously, we're in wine country, so this is fitting, and it's custom for the winner of the race to take a sip of wine in victory lane. Well, Ryan Hunter-Reay, he has had a very successful 2010 season, even if it's been pretty uncertain at times. What we do know, it's been a really emotional period for him, both personally and professionally. He shined with a win at Long Beach. He's had 5 top 5 finishes, and Ryan let Versus go behind the scenes with him at home in Florida.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Fort Lauderdale. Glad you can join us. It's a hot one today. We're trying to get out on the boat, maybe get a little scuba diving in, maybe some fishing. Why don't you come join us? Right now we're headed up to Lighthouse Point from Fort Lauderdale, so we head up there to go diving a lot, some of the best water quality in South Florida. I was lucky enough to grow up in the Fort Lauderdale area. I absolutely love it down here. I mean, we lived in California for a while. That's where Becky's from, and it doesn't get much better than this. This is what I want to come home to for sure. I'm all about the water, whatever it takes to be in the water. And from Fort Lauderdale south is the only remaining coral reef system left in North America. We're lucky to have that here, and trust me, if you can throw a tank on your back and get down and see it, it's amazing down there. We met in Long Beach. Long Beach Grand Prix in 04.
His mom set us up.
It's all because I had a race suit on.
I was working as a pit reporter, and I actually was just out there on my first weekend, and I saw him, and next thing you know, I'm talking to this lady, and she's the nicest lady I've ever met, and it ends up being his mom, so she kind of hooked us up. We met there, got engaged there, and he won there, so it's a pretty fitting place for us.
We like Long Beach.
We like Long Beach a lot.
All right, well, it's time to get in the water. That was a lot of fun. The sun's still out, though. Let's head over to the beach. Show you guys a little more of Fort Lauderdale. I've spent most of my childhood Sundays on the beach with my mom, and then I started scuba diving with my dad. And my mom and I were super close, and as she passed away from colon cancer, so we're getting out the word about Racing for Cancer and its initiative to push that awareness and to get yourself checked, and that's why it's a special place for me. Coming to the beach all the time, and the same thing for Becky. Well, thanks for joining us today here in Fort Lauderdale. We had a good time. Getting ready to get on the plane for Sonoma. Looking forward to heading back out to California. See you guys again soon.
And thanks to Ryan and Becky for giving us access like that. And as you can see, Ryan has had 3 podium finishes this season, including his win at Long Beach. And he's had 6 top 10 finishes in a row. Ryan standing by with Jackaroo.
Yeah, Lindy, you're right. He's been able to parlay what in the beginning was going to be a part-time ride into a full-time assault on the IZOD IndyCar Series. But Ryan, I want to go back to what happened this morning late in the final practice session. Down there, take us through what occurred with you.
Well, we had some issues there under braking. We've been struggling with something all weekend, but there was something there with the bias, and we found it. We got it fixed, and we're on our way. I mean, we were 4th in the session, so it's all good. I think the car is going to be good today. This team always gives me a great race car, so I'm really looking forward to getting out there. And like you said, this has gone from 3 races into a full season, so I'm counting my lucky stars. Just absolutely so thankful to be out here racing every weekend.
When we ride on board with you, we get to see what I think is a Ryan Hunter-Reay that is very, very aggressive and yet controlled. How would you characterize the way you attack these road courses?
Well, you have to be careful because you can't make any silly mistakes, right? You get this far into the season, you are points racing to an extent, even though you're not going for the overall championship. So you have to be careful, but at the same time, it's so hard to get a pass done on these road courses. You have to be extremely aggressive.
So where do you pass here? What can you do to try and affect that pass and complete it?
Well, the biggest opportunities will come on cold tires and in and out laps and trying to get cars as they're coming out of the pits and as strategies kind of progress that you can leapfrog a few cars. But down into turn 9 and up into turn 7, and it's all about setting them up. When they make a mistake, you're there to pounce. So it'll be a tough day, trust me. It's a physical racetrack, and everybody's so close. The competition in IndyCar and road courses right now is the best I've ever seen.
Well, good luck to you today, Ryan.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Robbie, it reminds me of a quarterback having to go through his progressions and then maybe having to throw to the tight end.
Jack, starting to Ryan Hunter-Reay's left side will be Justin Wilson. Can't get any closer than you. What's it going to be for you out there today to take you to victory?
Well, I think we just got to make sure we have the perfect race. Stay out of trouble at turn 1 and just keep pushing. Save fuel, go long, all the usual kind of things.
The last time we saw you was in Mid-Ohio, a little incident with EJV, so hurt your thumb. How does that affect you? It doesn't look like you have much tape on it.
No, I got a little bit of tape on here. I'm just trying to support it, stop it from stretching the ligaments any more than need to. But, the biggest thing is in those slow corners, turn 7 and 9 across the curbs. I can really jar it around a little bit, so I try and coordinate myself through those corners. But, it's going to be a tough race. I do not use my thumb. I do use my left arm a lot more this week than I have done before. And I can already feel, my left side's tense and tight from all these compressions.
When we talk about the racer, when we talk about the Racers Association, what's it like being a part of that and being a voice for all of these guys?
Well, it's tough. Everyone's got a different idea. So between Dario and Tony and myself, we're trying to just herd cats, if you like. Get people on the right track and understand that we're not going to make the rules. We're just trying to make suggestions and in the right areas that might improve the sport.
Well, the drivers can't hear us talking right now, so I want you to break down this course for me because you passed, I think, more than anybody last year. Got the Firestone Tire-ific move of the week last year. What's it going to take where on this course to get by people?
Well, you're going to have to look after your tires for a start. This surface really is hard on your tires. You slide around a bit, and that just overheats them, and things degrade. So your power down is key to give you the run. The run down into turn 9, the run into turn 11 is the key one. So, you're looking for a good exit on both of those to help set up the pass. But the car's got to be good on the brakes. You really got to stove it in pretty deep.
And Lindy Thaxton, Justin Wilson hoping to put the power down from 7th up to 1st place.
Thank you very much, Robbie. And time now to honor this week's National Guard hometown hero. And as always, Dan Weldon made sure to greet this week's hero. It is Staff Sergeant Jamie Merez. She started serving our country in June 1996 as a motor transport operator in the U.S. Army. She was stationed in the U.S. and Europe, and in 2003, she enlisted in the California Army National Guard. She was deployed to Iraq in 2005. You can see she's the winner of several service ribbons and medals, and that's why Staff Sergeant Jamie Merez is this week's National Guard hometown hero. And speaking of local products, there's J.R. Hildebrand marking his second IZOD IndyCar start. J.R. grew up just down the road from here in Sausalito and will start 19th today for Dreyer and Reinbold Racing. More IndyCar Central on Versus presented by Firestone after this. to Fittian Raceway here in Sonoma. About 3 hours south of here is Laguna Seca, and on their way here, KV Racing driver Takuma Sato and owner Jimmy Vassar took the detour to take a drive in the brand new Lotus Evora Cup GT4.
Just touch the brakes, go downshift, back on the power. A little bit dust there. Really enjoyed it.
Again, you need smooth braking and turning. So that's the most important part.
Looks pretty cool, huh? Here's where the 3 KV guys are starting today. EJ Vizo 15th, Takuma Sato 17th, and Mario Mariah starting 20th. While we have a moment, it's been a really busy week for news in the IZOD IndyCar Series. First of all, IndyCar has named Tony Kottman project manager of the 2012 equipment package. Tony will oversee the development of technical rules of the new engine and chassis programs. Kottman was vice president of operations for Champ Car from 2005 to 2007. And this past Tuesday at the House of Blues in Dallas, the IZOD IndyCar Series and Texas Motor Speedway announced the Firestone Texas two-step. Twin 114-lap races on the mile-and-a-half oval that will be held back-to-back on June 11th of next year. Both races will be full field with half the number of championship points available in each race. There were 17 double-header races under USAC and CART from 1967 to 1981, with one driver sweeping both races 10 times. With that new Texas format combined with a race in Baltimore, a race in Loudon, it's shaping up to be a pretty interesting season next year. Well, the Firestone Indy Light Series made news of their own today. J.K. Bernay started from pole position again on this 40-lap race. And then Rodrigo Barboza just runs a little bit wide there. You see him go off. And then watch this. Philip Major spins, and right there, he gets into Martin Plowman. J.K. Bernay takes another win here. It finishes with J.K. in first, Charlie Kimball in second, and James Hinchcliffe in third. And you know what? That's the exact same order that they started the race in. Let's update the season points there for you now. J.K. Bernay is still leading 71 points ahead of James Hinchcliffe. Charlie Kimball in third, 85 under, and then Martin Plowman in fourth, and Sebastian Saavedra in fifth. Well, the final road course race of the season takes place on this 12-turn, 2.3-mile venue with a lot of elevation change. The 75 laps here take a certain toll on the driver for sure. Jack Arute has more from our IZOD Performance Pit Center.
And, Lindy, what I like to call it is, because of that elevation, is what happens to the cars and ergo to the drivers. A little bit earlier, we compiled some of the practice session, and you'll notice that as the cars go down into turn number 1, they begin to compress. You'll see them actually right there begin to bounce. You see right here what's happening is it's not that they've got a soft shock setup. What they have got is they're experiencing what we call compression cornering. Now, if we go to the track map, you'll notice that I've highlighted turn 1, turn 3, and turn 4. Now, according to Justin Wilson and other drivers, turning the steering wheel under normal turning conditions on a lot of the other corners, kind of like turning with about 15-pound barbell in your hands. But when you get into those areas there, exponentially increase it to 60 pounds. Now imagine going 75 laps in those corners having to turn this way. That's why a lot of drivers like Will Power, like Justin Wilson, have designed a training regime utilizing weights connected to a steering wheel to get them ready for those compression corners. There's no power steering in these cars, Lindy, so they've got to do it with their triceps and their biceps.
2, 1, and time.
That's pretty interesting stuff, Jack. Thank you so much for that. Race time's getting closer. Stick with us. And coming up, we will take you back to last season when a crash here involving Will Power nearly ended his career. In less than a year, he returned to racing, clinched one title, and leads the overall points. Will Power's remarkable story when we return. You're watching IndyCar Central on Versus, presented by Firestone.
IndyCar Series begins.
Oh, in the air.
Just carnage in turn number 1.
Briscoe's wide. Oh, he's in the tires.
Briscoe missed the corner. Will Power.
As the Aussie is going to win the 2010 IZOD IndyCar Series season opener. Whoa!
Look at Ray Hall trying to go underneath Di Silvestro, and then Ryan Hunter-Ray makes contact and Di Silvestro goes around.
You're being a bit greedy.
Okay.
I just cut the inside wall and 2 mistakes on my part. He will open the 2010 season with back-to-back victories. The Aussie Will Power. Elio Castroneves will see the twin checkers. He's the winner of the inaugural running of the Indy Grand Prix of Alabama.
The 36th Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach is underway.
Here he is in the number 37 machine, Andretti Autosport. Back in victory lane in the IZOD IndyCar Series. Team Penske desperately wanted a win at the Glen. It looks like it will be Will Power delivering this afternoon. Elio Castroneves lost control and buries it deep into the tires.
Thomas Scheckter and Alex Tagliani contact. To pay back, you can go cry.
The twin checkers will wave. Will Power is the winner on the streets of Toronto. Here comes Will Power. He'll dart to the outside. Side by side, and what will he make the pass work?
And here comes the 9 of Scott Dixon.
Elio was penalized for blocking.
Holy cow.
I don't do no.
Well, in any case, it is Dixon's 24th career open wheel win.
Dario Franchitti will win here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. What a run Chip Ganassi's team has been on of late.
What a crazy road and street course season it has been. In 8 road and street races so far, Will has not only won 4 times, but he's captured 8 poles, led laps in all 8, has not finished worse than 4th. Pretty amazing numbers under any circumstances. And when Will came to Sonoma last year, he was really on a career high driving for Roger Penske. Only weeks earlier, he had won for the first time ever in the IndyCar Series. The crash here at Sonoma not only put his career in danger, but also his status with Penske Racing. The fact that this 29-year-old from Australia has recovered, returned to racing, and has had the success that he has had is an incredible story in and of Will Power.
Will Power comes over the hill and makes heavy contact with Nelson Philippe's car. Absolutely incredible impact that tore up both cars.
I remember thinking as I slid to a stop, that's the end of my career. I remember thinking that, well, that's done. And I was in so much pain, I thought, I don't care. I don't ever want to drive one of these again. I was hurting so bad. Excruciating pain like I've never felt.
It's no longer your driver. It's no longer competition. At that point in time, it becomes human.
I hit him so hard. Man, I hope I didn't kill him.
Will Power has compression fractures at L2 and L4 in his back and a concussion.
Put me in a helicopter and I just rode and thought nothing.
And it'll be his first win in the IndyCar Series.
He's winner, Will Power.
Fortunately, he had had that victory there at Edmonton, and he had solidified himself as someone that was very capable of winning within our organization.
These selected races were for me to show them what I can do, and now this has happened.
That was his number one concern. You know, as he was laying there after Sonoma, is what does that mean now? You know, I finally got my break. Now what's going to happen?
You get a lot of time to think, a lot of time to second guess yourself. Are you going to be competitive? Are you going to be, is your confidence going to be there again?
I think as I got closer to driving for the first time, I started getting anxiety about whether I'd ever be as good again. First race, I win it. When I won 2 races, okay, I'm as quick as I was.
He will open the 2010 season with back-to-back victories, the Aussie Will Power.
And for him to come to the first race and win the first race back after Sonoma, that really took everything full circle for us. It took everything full circle for him, and all the focus went on to how do we now win the championship.
In his mind, if he wins every race, that's the best thing he can do. Everything else is secondary, you know. That's it. I don't think I know Will Power. I don't think I'm any closer to him than anybody else on the team. I mean, just absolutely single-minded.
It's that overall focus. He helped bring it to another level, another notch.
I want to win it. That's what I'm working so hard for, and have worked so hard for my whole career, to be in this position. After I had probably
the worst accident I've ever had and had to recover and get fit enough to drive.
To win the championship with Will after what he's been through would be... It's not only a championship for Team Penske and for Roger, but it's full circle for him. It really shows everyone what he's capable of.
What a difference a year makes for Will Power. Can you believe you're in this situation? The series points leader, won the road championship. I mean, a lot has happened in a year.
Yeah, it is amazing. Coming back to this place, I'm very determined to win. I think it owes me something, and it's just great to have Penske and Verizon come on, give me a full-time ride, and Verizon as a sponsor come on full-time and give me this opportunity, because this time last year I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I had no idea if I'd be a full-time or part-time or even recover enough to get back in the car, so very happy.
Making the most of these opportunities, though. I mean, you're talking about 8 poles, 4 victories, but it's been tough. When you get poled, that doesn't necessarily mean you always win those races.
No, it can be very mixed up with the way yellows fall and strategy goes, but, we've got to put ourselves in that position every week, and we really need to execute this weekend. Ganassi has won the last 2, and I feel as though we've been quick enough to win them, so we're going to be on it today.
What's it going to be like for you on the racetrack? Elio's starting next to you. Dario Franchitti, who needs to beat you, starting behind. It's bound to get a little aggressive, don't you think?
Yeah, I'm very aware of that for the start. I know those guys. I've got Elio there. He'll be my wingman, and hopefully we can have a clean start and just a good, clean race.
Wingman is Top Gun. Talk to me, Goose.
Thank you, Robbie. And we caught up with Nelson Philippe this weekend. He's the other driver that was in that crash. We wanted to see how he's doing. He says he's been working in the family business. He's driven some Grand Am and European sports car races this year, and he wants to return to IndyCar racing. He says, I'm only 24. I've got some time. So, of course, we wish him the best. And since last year, Infineon Raceway has added safety lights at the entrance into Turn 3 so that drivers get advance warning that a car has stopped near or after the crest of that hill. And to catch Will Power's latest blog, you can always log on to Versus.com. We're less than 10 minutes to the command for today's race. This is IndyCar Central on Versus, presented by Firestone.
Versus.
Welcome back to Sonoma, where the first open-wheel race was held here 40 years ago. In a USAC contest, Dan Gurney took home the victory with Mario Andretti coming in second. There you see Al Unser third. And speaking, though, of Mario Andretti, here he is, getting ready to give one lucky fan, Stanley Houts, a pace lap in the Izod 2-seater. You'll see that in just a little while, and you can go to shophonda.com for your chance to start an IndyCar race in the Izod 2-seater driven by Mario. Check out the official rules at shophonda.com, and I can really only think of one better prize, and that'd be a 2-seater ride by either Bob Jenkins, Jan Beekes, or Robbie Buell.
Wow. I don't know how to react to that, except it would be a thrill for me to ride with Mario, and I know that Stan is really excited at this point. Hi, everyone. We have a beautiful day here in Sonoma and ready for a great race. One thing I want to talk about, we heard Ryan Hunter-Reay talk about it just a few minutes ago. We heard Will Power talk about it yesterday when he won the pole, and that is, Robbie, how competitive this series is this year.
It's incredible, and it really hit me last night. What's the common denominator we're hearing from these guys? They're not saying how competitive it is. They're saying this is the most competitive season they've ever had anywhere. Dario made one little mistake yesterday, and that was the difference between him being third and first. And Will Power, yes, he got the pole, but he was fighting to get into the top 6, if you remember. And he said that is the toughest lap that he's ever driven in his career. Now, this is turn 9 on the racetrack. There we see Power going off. Everybody has just locked up that right front tire as you're getting down into this corner. As soon as you lock up that tire, your brake zone lengthens. You lose a little bit of grip, and off you go. Right on board, there's a lockup, Ryan Hunter-Reay, and there you go through there. And these guys are fighting for hundredths of seconds, not tenths, hundredths, and that's why they're pushing it in turn 9.
And Robbie, when you talk about hundredths, consider that there's a new twist for this entire weekend, and that is the Firestone Red, the alternate softer tire, is the softest Firestone that they have ever brought anywhere. It's almost a second faster than the black sidewall primary, so it's fast,
but will it last during the race? So tire management today is going to be key. Take a look at Dario Franchitti yesterday out in the S's, 140 miles an hour, leaning on it, taking the kind of commitment. Watch the rear tire and watch the trace behind. Look at that, just laying down the rubber off of those tires. So that's great and fun in qualifying and shows the commitment, but in the race, you do not want to do that. You want to save that rubber and get to the end of the stints.
Will it be another Will Power Day? Well, we don't know, but he certainly has the potential of winning once again as he will start from pole position here. And we look forward to the start of today's race in just a few minutes. Thanks for joining us on IndyCar Central on Versus, presented by Firestone. We'll have the command and a rundown of the 25 starters in today's Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma in just a moment.
The IndyCar Central pre-race is presented by Firestone, the first name in Indy racing.
And streets of the 2010 IZOD IndyCar season will forever be known for the dominance of one driver, Will Power, who's taken this season by storm after a horrific crash in Sonoma last year.
I remember thinking that's the end of my career.
This has been the season of redemption for the Team Penske driver who's charged to victory 4 times, all on road course circuits.
He has dominated the road and street courses in the IZOD IndyCar Series this year.
Today, the son of the valleys of wine country California, the final wine to the road courses, and a last chance for road specialist Will Power to pack in the points before he battles 4 ovals to the finish of this IndyCar season. Defending points champion Dario Franchitti is on the prowl, winning the last race.
Dario Franchitti will win, trailed by Will Power.
Franchitti has tasted the fruits of victory here before. Today, he aims for a repeat win and closing the gap on Will Power in the battle for the season championship. The 2010 IZOD IndyCar season rolls on with race number 13 of 17, the Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma from Infineon Raceway, live here on Versus. We're about 50 miles north of San Francisco in wine country, the beautiful Sonoma Valley, and we could not ask for better weather. Not a cloud in the sky, very comfortable temperatures, and this is the final road course of the year. We'll finalize the season on 4 ovals beginning next Saturday night at Chicagoland Speedway. Let's get the command.
Race fans, are you ready? It's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Please welcome Father John Cruz of the Hannah Boys Center as he gives the command.
Drivers, start your engines.
The command has been given.
Are being fired, 25 of them set to go for 75 laps, 175 miles of racing here this afternoon. Steve Page, the president and general manager of this facility, tells us that of all the races held here at Infineon this year, this is the only race to show an increase in ticket sales from last year. You can see there's quite a few people in the grandstands. We also have stands along the backstretch and up in turn number 7. They're enjoying the sunshine of a beautiful Northern California day. Great places to watch this facility, watch this race from. As is the two pace cars, and the Izod two-seater has left, of course, well ahead of the field. And yesterday here at Infineon Raceway, we saw history made. In dramatic style, Will Power, when it looked like he may not even transfer the Firestone Fast 6, did what he had to do and won his 8th Peak Pole Award of the year, the most ever during an IndyCar season. 7 of his poles have been on road and street circuits. He also won the pole at the Oval in Iowa. Well, there is the Izod two-seater, and it's being driven by Mario Andretti. His passenger, the winner of the Honda Sweepstakes, Stan Houts. And what a thrill this must be for Stan. Stan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, how's it going?
Awesome.
What do you think?
Oh, it's going great. Oh, I'm loving it. It's just like, I'm telling you, it's right just like a Honda.
Not only are you getting to pace the field, but behind you is the legendary, in front of you, I'm sorry, Mario Andretti.
Yeah, I know. It's awesome. A great driver. He's a great driver.
All right. Enjoy yourself, Stan.
Yeah. All right, I will.
This was such a popular sweepstakes. They're going to do it again. You can go to shophonda.com to sign up for your chance to start an IndyCar race in the Izod IndyCar two-seater, driven by the living legend Mario Andretti. Official rules are at shophonda.com. All right, here's the way they will line up for today's race. Besides Will Power on the front row, it's Elio Castroneves. Row number 2, Dario Franchitti and Alex Tagliani with his best start since his first race of the year.
You're right, and Tags has never been to this circuit. They struggled the last couple weekends, and they came here with a whole new plan. It's obviously working.
Row number 3, Ryan Briscoe, the 2005 pole sitter here, and Scott Dixon, the winner of this race in 2007. Starting 7th, Justin Wilson, who finished 2nd twice this year, and Ryan Hunter-Reay, the winner at Long Beach.
And Justin Wilson was the fastest driver in the morning. Warm-up said they only made one change on the car, and it transformed it. He is all smiles now.
Row number 5 consists of Tony Kanaan, the 2005 winner here at Edmonton, and Rafa Matos, who equals his best start of the year. As you look at the rest of the lineup, there has never been a repeat winner in the 5 IndyCar races that we have had here at Infineon. The 2 most recent winners have started from the pole. The farthest back a winner has ever started was Scott Dixon in 2007. He started 5th. The most different leaders in a race, 5 in 2005, and the most official lead changes, 9 in 2007. Dario Franchitti led every lap here last year. Scott Dixon led only 15 circuits when he won in 2007. There you see the remainder of the starting lineup with Danica Patrick and Will Caduno back in row number 12 and Francesco Dracconi in row number 13. Down to the Izod Performance Pit Center. Here's Jack Arute.
Well, Jan Beekes has already talked about the strategy, but for Will Power and for Dario Franchitti, here's what it boils down to. This is the final road race of the season. Take a look at the oval points earned by Franchitti and by Will Power. The difference right now in the point standings is 42 points. This is the money day for Will Power because the last 4 races, guys, are going to be on ovals.
All right, Jack. Only 6 drivers have chosen to start the race on the primary tires. There you can see that Will Power does have his work cut out for him after today when we get to the ovals, because when you compare those 2 drivers and their overall performance on ovals, it is an advantage to Dario Franchitti. 6 drivers have chosen to start the race on the primary black tires. Everybody else on the reds. On boards carried by Marco Andretti. There is Dan Weldon of the National Guard car. Simone Di Silvestro, the highest starting rookie today, in 11th position. Tony Kanaan won earlier this year on the oval at Iowa. Ryan Hunter-Reay, who slid off track in the warm-up this morning, damaged the nose. His car is okay. And then we're also on board with the points leader, already the winner of the Mario Andretti Trophy for road course dominance, pole sitter Will Power. They come off of turn number 11. And are looking for the green flag as Will Power steps out ahead of the field. The Apex Brazil green flag, experience our energy waves. And here we go. The field seems to be divided by we have a caution already. Oh my. Who is upside down?
It looked like National Guard colors, which would be Weldon.
It is.
And that is before the start-finish line, guys. When we saw that lead pack kind of file in, this happened back coming off 11.
You saw them file through, and then, as you said, Robbie, a gap. And in that gap, there's obviously been a touching of wheels.
And that's right at the beginning of the turn number 11. Going to right the car.
Now, of course, they start the race on the long course, as it's known. When we get going here, they won't go down. That is only done on the start and restart.
Yeah, make a little longer U, and that just allows them to stretch it out and make a cleaner start, you hope. This isn't clean here.
See what happened. Oh my, that was more than just a tip over, wasn't it?
Off the right front there.
To show the strength of that roll hoop.
Yeah.
And it looked like Baguette was the car that was behind him.
And that's what I say, it was just the right front. It was just a simple little clip. There's the clip.
Yep.
And it sends you over. Well,
wow, that was a nasty one.
Well, that's, when we talk about the challenge of IndyCar racing, open wheel racing, and while you don't spend a lot of time touching out there, that's why there.
Well, it is a 2x2 start, and Weldon was gridded 12th, which would mean he is on the right. So I think because Will Power got on the gas so soon, they were kind of sliding into single file, and he thought he was clear, and obviously he wasn't.
And you're right. And if you think about it, is that first 10 that we saw, they were at single file already at start-finish line, so they were really using their head and say, let's not have anything crazy happen in turn 2 at the top of the hill here, like we saw last year.
Well, Dan is okay. You saw him walk to the ambulance. Hopefully we'll be able to talk to him before too much longer, but it has resulted in a caution very early on here at Sonoma.
IndyCar Grand Prix of Sonoma on Versus is presented by Izod, the official apparel sponsor of the Izod IndyCar Series, available at Macy's, and by Peak Performance Products. When you peak, you win.
Performance, and it's electric.
Look out. Be sure everybody's safe with the new Peak backup camera system. With the Peak Jump Starter, you don't need another car to jump your dead battery, so there's no waiting. And the fun never stops with the Peak Power Inverter. It instantly converts your car's battery power to household power. Great as a mobile office or for tailgating.
Inside, outside, all around your car. When you peak, you win.
Racing is extremely physical.
Extremely physical.
Handling that 650 horsepower car. You can feel the engine kicking your butt. You're in a car and it's beating you up.
Your head hurts, your back hurts, your muscles ache. I've gone into some races where after the third or fourth lap, I'm like, how many laps to go?
We are still under caution here at the Sonoma, California Infineon Raceway for the Dan Weldon crash. When you take a look at Dan Weldon's crash, I want to draw attention to the steering wheel one more time. You'll notice a white button here. It's called PTP. That is the overtake button. On the start, a lot of drivers, including your leader, Will Power, used it. But when we go on board and we take a look at Dan Weldon's crash, you'll notice that as he began to go, watch where his hand is, guys. He is on the push to pass. In fact, before Weldon depressed it, before Power depressed it, Weldon was already on it. Now, I'm not saying that that's what happened, but I'm saying that it might have been a contributing factor.
And you watch Weldon come out. Now look at, he starts tracking out where you had Baguette right there.
And again, he was gridded on the right-hand side, and so the fact that Power took off early, people were stringing out. Again, he thought he was clear, but obviously he was not. Lindy?
And John Barnes, I know it's early, but what do you know at this point about what just happened?
Nothing really, just what we saw in the replays here just a second ago. And, it's come down here for this long start, and they come off the corner down there, and pretty good place for acceleration. It looked like that Dan let the 78 car go. He moved over, and someone was there. So it's just one of those deals.
We've heard Dan say before, just with your support of National Guard and the people he's met, that incidences like this only make him realize that he can go back out there and do things even better. What would you say about your support from them and what he's learned?
Well, there's no question about that. The selfless service that the citizen soldiers do every day is incredible, and they make us better. And we have tough days like this. It's nothing compared to what they go through every day. So it's an honor to represent them, and we'll be at Chicago.
John, thank you for your time. And Bob, Dan Weldon is out here and obviously okay, shaken up at the moment. Hopefully we'll get a word with him in a bit. Bob.
All right, good deal. John Barnes, of course, one of the owners of Panther Racing, back at Sonoma, California, Infineon Raceway in the Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma in a moment.
Runs on sugar.
Sweet sugarcane ethanol.
It's an advanced biofuel recognized by the EPA
because it cuts greenhouse emissions by 60% compared to gasoline.
And it can save you money at the pump. Fast and sweet and clean and lovely, the fuel from sugar cane goes racing. I can dance. Nah, I cannot sing. But one thing we can agree, we race on ethanol.
Does anyone else have to turn up the volume when they eat wheat thins? Someone needs to invent crunch-proof headphones. He will be surprised. Tim Parker, do you remember when you tweeted, does anyone else have to turn up the volume when they eat wheat thins? Someone needs to invent crunch-proof headphones. Yes. All right, well, guess what, pal? Straight from Wheat Thins Lab.
No way.
We're going to try this. Ready?
Okay.
That's a success. Let's roll. Bring it in. Come on, boys. Who's next?
My boyfriend has one.
My girlfriend, my older sister.
She has 2 kids.
My college roommate who lives up north.
My mom. My mom. My neighbors.
Our neighbors.
My daughter.
My daughter.
We were in the same class in elementary school. My boyfriend.
My parents.
Our parents. My lovely wife.
And my husband has one.
Yeah, as well as a fellow I work with.
My girlfriend, she moved out east.
I'm a city girl.
Everybody knows somebody who loves a Honda. Who do you know?
At Mothers, we come up with innovative solutions to common car care problems, like yellow clouded headlights. They're unsightly, and the reduced light output is a serious safety concern. Mother's Powerball for Lights is a revolutionary product. Restoring headlight clarity may seem complicated, but it's not. Powerball for Lights is quick, inexpensive, and easy to use, even on severely damaged headlights. Restore, maintain, and protect. Mother's Powerball for Lights Headlight Restoration Kit.
About to get the green flag and hopefully some green flag racing after the incident with Dan Weldon. You saw on Versus Nonstop, Danica Patrick made a pit stop. She has caught up with the back of the field. Here comes the field now off of turn number 11 and looking for the Apex Brazil green flag. And there it is now. Let's do some racing here. Up the hill they go.
And Helio was a lot closer behind Will Power that time than he was on the initial side-by-side start.
Oh, wow! As J.R. Hildebrand was on the outside, that was tight.
Will Power has the lead already and stretching it out a little bit. Dario has dropped back to third. Helio's running second.
Alex Tagliani, who Robbie talked about in the Open, is putting a lot of heat there on Dario Franchitti, black and white B&W colors.
And as tough as it is to pass on this circuit, just starts, restarts, when everybody's just getting everything up to temperature, now is the time to be aggressive, to maybe force your hand to make some positions.
Thought maybe Scott Dixon would try to get by Ryan Briscoe, running just ahead of him. No attempt, however, going into one of the braking areas and good best places to pass.
Alex Tagliani, great shot of him. I love that kind of gold-plated, bronze-plated numbers and mirrors. That's very cool in person.
Oh, I just saw some dust there.
Oh, and the 34.
Which is now Baguette. They've changed car numbers.
Right.
And maybe what caused that is, remember, he was the one that got together with Weldon, and something was tweaked on his right front, so when he went to his brake point there going into 9, something was just off a little bit.
And I don't place any blame in his corner. It was a 2x2 start, and he was where he was supposed to be, was Baguette.
Well, that's
so I think, you know, if this car's not damaged, hopefully he'll have a decent race out of it.
And Bertrand has really done a fantastic job all season long. I talked to him, I said, what's your biggest challenge? He's still learning these steel rotors. He's used to the carbon rotors and just the feel of the brake pedal and how you got to carry that into the corners. It's a different style, but he's doing a darn good job driving for Eric Bachelard and the Conquest team.
They switched numbers, but the colors on the car remain the same, as Elio kind of sneaks in there on Will Power in turn number 7, but Power accelerates off the corner.
You know, the one thing that would scare me with Elio, one comment that he made about his race car, he said, I have a very consistent car. And if he's got a consistent, happy race car, that's a guy that's going to be tough. But I still think a bigger issue, that may have been a little front by Elio because of how are the Reds going to last, Jan, and you touched that early on.
And now you can see the dramatic difference of the two different ways that you make that corner. Look at this move. Muto up the inside of Viso. Nice out-braking maneuver, and Graham Rahal back there trying to take advantage.
Sure. And Viso will come into the pits. Robbie, he's headed toward you. E.J. Viso with an early pit stop.
It's going to be a 3-stop race for E.J. Viso. They made a spring change earlier this morning for the better. They knew they were coming in early. They're taking off the Firestone Blacks, throwing on the Firestone Reds. You should see a front wing adjustment and back out for E.J. Viso according to plan.
His cousin, Juan Carlos, designed the helmet that EJ is wearing this week here at Sonoma. By the way, Will Power has now led in 12 of the 13 races this season. The only race that he has not led was at Kansas. What a year. There's Simona Di Silvestro, who's running back in 11th position, will jump on board her car, and up ahead is Rafael Matos.
And this section is all flat out. You don't lift through here. You're about 145 mile an hour. Right through there, the car gets a little light, and then this is that tough braking zone where we've seen a lot of guys lock up that right front and go straight instead of finishing that little chicane off.
Down to Lindy.
Dan Weldon standing here and fine, and we're thankful for that. Describe being in that car.
You know, it's never a good thing to be upside down, but, you know, obviously everybody at the Lara and the IndyCar Series work extremely hard on the safety aspect of it. It's just, for us, very disappointing because we, you know, the National Guard Panther Racing team did an extremely good job with the car this weekend, and we were really hoping for a good finish. So it's incredibly unfortunate, but, you know, there's nothing you can do about it. You've got to move on, and, you know, there's certainly the last 4 races, I think, are going to be a very strong stretch for us. So we're excited about that, but, you know, for all the work that the guys put in, we're extremely disappointed because, like I said, I really felt we had a good chance of having a very, very good result.
I've heard some of your crew say, oh, we always look at the people who go out first lap and think, man, that must feel terrible, and now they said they're feeling it. Describe what it's like to be on the sidelines and have to watch now.
It's unusual, and, you know, it's not happened to me a lot in my career, so you know, it's not something I want to get used to, and, you know, certainly, like I say, we'll move on and, you know, rebound very, very strong. Like I say, the next 4 races, expect to see that National Guard car up front.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And Bob, we'll see him in Chicago.
Indeed.
And Lindy, I think it's worth saying that he did have a great weekend going, so he wanted to be aggressive off the start. It was one of his best road course weekends of the season.
All right, the leader is Will Power. Here he comes off of corner number 11, across the start-finish line to complete lap number 8. Elio Castroneves runs right behind him, about a half a second behind. In third position is Dario Franchitti.
And talking to Dario, he said, I don't have a bad car, I don't have a great car, but we know he's as strong as anybody.
And as you said, Robbie, Alex Tagliani, never been here before. What a great job by him.
Ryan Briscoe is behind Tags.
Briscoe, I was talking about the brake pedal feel of these race cars. Briscoe has a brilliant feel, that brake pedal. I think he's going to be a strong guy to watch today.
Behind Ryan Briscoe is Scott Dixon. Then here comes the 22 car, the Z-Line design car of Justin Wilson.
Justin Wilson in a position, as most of these drivers now, solid pace, save fuel. Ryan Hunter-Reay right behind him. Great feature on him in the pre-race. Give an idea. He says he loves the water and he loves this race car. Thankfully, they fixed that brake issue we had coming up for turn 9.
TK had a little bit of problem on the first day of practice, missed some lap time, but there's nobody stronger come race day is this guy right there, Tony Kanaan.
The 2 car of Rafael Matos runs in 10th position at this time for DeFerrin Dragon Motorsports. There he is entering turn number 11, and behind him is Simona Di Silvestro running 11th.
She had, again, another great qualifying effort. She's been great at that this year, as well as Hideki Muto. Thought he would transfer through, found himself just a little bit short.
And his teammate at Newman Haas Racing, Graham Rahal, right behind him, running in 13th position. Then comes Takuma Sato. We saw him driving the new Lotus passenger car at Laguna Seca in the pre-race show. And here's Bertrand Baguette.
Bertrand, as we talked about earlier, he's still learning these race cars, but with what he's done with his engineer, Todd Malloy, this year is fantastic.
Seems like it's been only a few months, but it was 4 years ago that Marco Andretti won his first Eyes on IndyCar Series event here at Infineon. Mario Marias is behind him.
And he tested here, and unfortunately they gave him a little extra time at the end of the test day, and he ended up crashing, as well as his teammates. So kind of like the last ski run of the day, you've got to be careful as the day closes down.
One of the Dreyer and Reinbold cars, Robbie, J.R. Hildebrand, local driver.
Yeah, and he's been really quick all weekend, but what he's struggling with is when they put the Firestone Reds on in qualifying, he just wasn't used to maximizing that extra drift from those Firehawks.
A.J. Foyt's driver, Vitor Mira, runs in 19th position at the moment, and behind him, the Boy Scouts car of Alex Lloyd.
Vitor says their car in the ABC car for Foyt, he says, every session it's getting better, but we kind of started behind, but they are getting better.
And I talked to Danica Patrick this morning, and she says she loves this racetrack and has had some good results, but obviously the car not to her liking, not the kind of speed that she wanted. She liked it in qualifying, said just wasn't able to put the lap together.
Again, Danica pitted earlier in the race and caught up to the rear of the field. Francesco Dracconi also did, along with E.J. Viso. And there is Dracconi, who is running his second ISOT IndyCar Series event.
And the reason they switched those numbers, Bob, according to Eric Bachelard, was simply for owners' points. They want the fastest driver with the highest owner points.
E.J. Viso is also on the racetrack after having made a pit stop that we showed you. And so the race continues with Will Power in control by about a half a second over Elio Castroneves. Dario Franchitti is third. This September, college football returns to Versus. We know what you Mountain West fans want. You want to know if the Utes and Rebels can hold off the Big East and Big Ten. Well, you can catch Pittsburgh at Utah Thursday, September 2nd at 8:30 Eastern when the Utes make a stand against the rush of the Pittsburgh Panthers, and catch Wisconsin at UNLV Saturday, September 4th at 11 Eastern. This September, college football returns to Versus.
How do you like that onboard shot,
That's quite an angle, isn't it?
Marco Andretti was just kind of sitting off that right rear end plate and looking over that top right rear.
Now we're back up front, and we look back on the second place car of Elio Castroneves from Will Power's machine.
And he's keeping it close.
Yeah, he is. This I have always loved this racetrack. For one thing, it's very technical, but for another thing, it has an incredible amount of elevation change. Now, down here is about the lowest point of the racetrack. That's about 15 feet above sea level. But here you start to climb the hill, and by the time you get to turn 3A, you're 153 feet above sea level. 14 stories, I think you pointed out. Yeah.
And as they go to 3, right there, the leaders are going through 3. That looks flat from here, but you drive into turn 3 with a big amount of speed, and that car just loads and buries itself into the track and gives you extra grip, and it really is a fantastic racetrack and incredibly physical.
Marco Andretti has made a pit stop. By the way, J.R. Hildebrand also was on pit lane a few minutes ago during our commercial break.
And Marco had told me earlier this morning that they would have to do things differently because they obviously hadn't found the speed. One of those is take big gambles, and a 3-stop strategy typically is not going to work for you, but you have to do something different than the leaders if you don't have the speed for that weekend.
7.4-second pit stop for Marco Andretti. He's back in action. There is the turn 9 area that so many drivers have had problems with. First 3 cars are running very close together, aren't they?
Yeah, we would have maybe thought that Power would have checked out a little bit more. But again, we don't know what, he may be just driving for a fuel number right now saying, hey, I'm holding him back and I'm making a lot of fuel, so that can just kind of push that first pit window further back for him.
Your guy, Alex Tagliani, holding on to 4th position. Holding off the challenge right now of Ryan Briscoe, Robbie.
You have to be impressed with Alex Tagliani. He's no rookie to the sport, but he is a rookie to this racetrack. These other crews around in 4th place. He qualified in 4th place, and he never set a wheel on this racetrack until Thursday. They've taken a totally different approach in the way they approach the races because this is a brand new team. Heading after Mid-Ohio, they said, guys, we got to change something up. Let's approach this race like we've never been here, never been to another race. Let's set up this car how we should set it up, and boy, it is paying off dividends for Alex Tagliani. He's in full fuel save mode. Rob told him that you're not going to win this lap on lap number 1. This race on lap number 1, you're going to win it on lap number 75, Lindy Thaxton.
Take a look at Tony Kanaan. He's got a new look this weekend. He's in the Dr. Pepper car there in car number 11. A little bit of a rough weekend for him on Friday. Only 3 laps into the first practice session, he had a fuel pump problem, lost the entire day of practice. Saturday morning, 1 hour to work on his setup before qualifying. He said, you take a risk. You're either going to be a hero or a 0. He ended up starting 9th today. He's never started worse than 7th here, but he said, hey, 9th, we will take it, Bob. He will take it just fine.
And TK was featured on a Man vs. Food episode on Travel Channel recently, downing a big burger at Bub's Burgers in Carmel, Indiana, as we go on board with Simona Di Silvestro. She's still 11th.
Sorry, Bob. Simona Di Silvestro, she really likes this car, not only with the reds, but the blacks as well. She said this car has very good balance. It'll be interesting on that last set. Does she go to the, her used reds, or does she stick with the new set? They said they're tire heavy. That's what Michael Cannon told me, but she likes the car on both tires, and that's a good thing when you have a nice, perfect balance between the 2 tires.
She's giving chase to Rafael Matos. Little lock up there by Tagliani as Ryan Briscoe gets around him.
Well, like I said, Briscoe's been on the pole here at this racetrack. He's finished the 2nd last time, and he's due, guys. He is due for a breakout.
And now Dixon. Look at Dixon get to the inside of Tags, who loses 2 positions here in a few feet of the racetrack, really, as Justin Wilson now makes a challenge.
And he knows he's lost momentum. He can't protect by the rules, but he's trying to make it difficult for Wilson. Wilson wants to pounce. Why? He's a little bit off song.
Yeah, not a problem with Tagliani. When you get past like that, you lose a little bit of momentum, and he got in the high side. Jack, you got more?
There's not really a problem with what the cars developed is more understeer than they had when the race started. And when you're running on the reds, and with, as Robbie Floyd said, the conservative game plan that this team has taken, they are trying to eke as many laps out with these red tires as possible. When you have understeer, Jan and Robbie, you've got to treat the car a little more gingerly, and sometimes you got to give it up so as not to wear it out.
Well, we're on board with Justin, and he is all over Tags right now. And with that understeer, when the car pushes like that, you just got to wait to get on the throttle, and that's exactly what Tagliani's having to do. There's the pass right there. And look at Ryan Hunter-Reay. He's sucking right. Is he going to dive in? No.
And there is another classic example of how you're supposed to give the inside line to the driver who is on the charge.
Yep.
And he did exactly that, Tagliani did.
Well, everything as a driver, you say, I've got to protect, because Tagliani knows he's in trouble. He sees these guys breathing down his neck. But check out this heart rate for Ryan Hunter-Reay right now, a static 147. It tends to, he said, he thinks typically there are peaks and valleys, but thinks around 165 or so has been his median that he's looked on the charts this week.
And you'll actually see his heart rate go up as you get into harder driving corners like turn 1 where it loads up. And then when it's a little easier corner, he doesn't have to work as hard in the car. There is 160. It will fall back down. When the track goes yellow, you'll see it probably go down to 120. When he's being challenged by somebody or making a move.
And now we're up to 173. So he's like, okay, I'm going to get this guy.
I mean, you can track how he's doing in the car by just watching that heart rate.
Now, if you haven't ever had a heart rate monitor, 173, you are gasping for air, even at his age. So if you've ever done any running training with a heart rate monitor, that is really high RPM. And he's got this perfectly set up now for turn 7.
Yeah, and the key to make this pass in 7 is coming off that carousel turn 6. He's down the inside, very clean. Tag says no.
Mercy.
He was down the inside, but Tags is just not wanting to give it up.
You know what happened there? Ryan Hunter-Reay has told us he has had braking issues all weekend. He says, even if I get someone set up perfectly, I'm not sure that I have the kind of braking ability to finish it off, and he couldn't.
Well, and you're right. To tag on that this morning, he said
Tagliani goes off course.
Just having a little pressure, but it was interesting. Ryan Hunter-Reay, to be fast, you have to brake really deep and hard, but when you brake deep and hard, sometimes you lock it up. And he says, then when I don't do that, I'm just, look at that. Look at Simona.
Simona had some contact, it looked like.
Well, she was behind Rafa, who's still in front of her. She was trying to get down the inside of him.
Thought I saw the front wing. A bit of a wiggle.
Ooh, there's a big wiggle right there. That was Tagliani. Wow. A big wiggle in turn 1.
He's in big trouble.
Remember, turn 1, you're going through there about 140 miles an hour.
And now he's in the middle of a sandwich between Sato and Baguette.
Yeah, I would say right now he's got more of a problem. Yeah, he's got more of a problem than just a big understeer or a big push in that car.
I think he's got a broken suspension. The thing looked like it was just laying over.
Wow.
It's got to be coming from the right rear.
Oh, yeah. Right rear's down. Yep.
Yep. He just drops to the rear of the pack as he will head toward the pits.
There's the pass by Ryan Hunter-Reay down the inside, but Tag says, no, I'm not giving it up. He locks up the right side. Now Ryan Hunter-Reay still pushing him.
Okay, and I'm just thinking, let's see if Di Silvestro maybe clips the wing with Tagliani. Let's see, there's Tagliani, and right there,
maybe.
I think from the high shot, that front wing may have touched Tagliani, and then the next corner he came to was when the thing started to come down, so he may have got cut from contact behind.
Meanwhile, we have a new second-place runner. Dario Franchitti has passed Elio Castroneves, and so Will Power now with a 3-second advantage on Franchitti, with Castroneves third, Briscoe fourth, and Scott Dixon running in 5th position.
The one thing I find really interesting about that is Elio said that his reds were falling off. They are right now.
We'll be back in a moment to the Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma. The command has been given. Green flag.
Action in the back.
A car upside down here prior to the start-finish line. Dan Weldon's car sits upside down.
Cargo Incognito. Introducing the Accord Cross Tour from Honda.
If you know passion, you know my name. If the roar of a race car gives you goosebumps, If you believe that no one ever remembers who comes in second. If you're into checkered flags, chugging milk, burning rubber, you know my name. If you've ever pressed your nose to a chain-link fence to get a closer look, if you own a pair of earplugs, if you know Andretti, Rahal, and Unser, you know my name. You know my name because I've been here from the very beginning. As vital today as I was over 100 years ago. 100 miles to go. I am a powerhouse. I am running wide open with no finish line in sight. I am the fire that never goes out. You know my name. I am then, I am now, I am forever. I am Firestone, and I am proud.
Feel the excitement? That's peak performance, and it's electric.
The fun never stops with a peak power inverter. It instantly converts your car's battery power to household power. Great for travel, mobile office, and all-out tailgating. It's easy to hook up. Plug in almost anything. Laptop, cell phone, TV, blender, whatever. Peak inverters turn your car into a party on wheels.
Inside, outside, all around your car. When you peak, you win.
Takuma Sato leaves his pit area after having made a stop, and you also saw in versus nonstop, Scott Dixon was able to pick up a position and go to fourth, and now Justin Wilson passes Ryan Briscoe.
And we saw where he was really hounding Briscoe, but just had to be patient till that right time came up. And sure enough, he's by him. And Briscoe and I think Elliott, both those Penske cars are holding on right now.
And this whole thing is starting to break loose because it's at the very end of the stint, exactly like we talked about at the Open. Here is the pass for Justin Wilson. A perfect setup comes off the bottom of the carousel, Robbie. That is picture perfect.
Sure is.
But his reds do not seem to be falling off. Briscoe's and, as you said, Castroneves are.
Well, and you know, when I talked to Elliott this week, he said, I love my reds when they're fresh and they're a half a second quicker than the Firestone Blacks. He said, but when they go off big, and that's exactly what we see happening.
Muto is going to get his service. Now, this is just on the inside. You had Takuma Sato. Now you have Muto. This will still work for a two-stop strategy. It'll be tight, but this is the early part of a two-stop window.
Robbie Floyd.
And that may be what the Newman Haas Racing Team needs. Going to take off the rest, put on a brand new set of Firestone Blacks. This is the early part of the window. Man, it looks like Danica Patrick's coming by as well. So this is the busy time. They throw on, look like no adjustment for Muto. Now Danica Patrick's going in. She moves on to another set, looking for adjustments. This is a lady who is just looking forward to the ovals. The road courses has not been the best to her, and she's looking forward to Chicago next week.
As are we next Saturday night, Chicagoland Speedway, one of the most competitive on the IZOD IndyCar Series. There is Will Power continuing to lead.
Hey, Bob, this is what I'm beginning to see, and I think it bears out what Jan and Robbie are saying. This is the longest that anybody has really run on the Firestone alternate tires as we work on lap 23, and you can see that Dixon is all over Helio Castroneves. One of the reasons is because the tires have dropped off. For some people, they've dropped off dramatically. And talking to Tim Cindric, that's the case for Helio Castroneves. But for everybody, Jan Vikas, what they want to do is they're trying to push the window to a lap 26 to lap 30. I think the tires may give up the ghost before that's possible.
And that is the first stint on the Reds, Jack, and you are correct. If they can get to lap 26, 27, remember, they can go a little bit farther because we had some caution early on.
But you don't want to do that when you're slowing down. And obviously Briscoe is in a little bit earlier than we thought because the tires were falling off and times were falling off.
And that's exactly what Jack. And look at it side-by-side with Castroneves. On the outside is Dixon.
For third, down into turn number 7. Ooh, Elio locks him up. And Dixon picks up third.
And wow, look at the difference the way Dixon got off that corner.
Look at him gap him. He can put power down. Elio just cannot put power down. He can't get back to the throttle.
And this is exactly what Jack was talking about. If the tires give up before you need fuel, maybe you put the strategy out the window, come in, get those tires off.
You got to if you slow down that much.
On the outside. You don't see that every day.
Yeah, you do when you can't. When Elio can't. When he can't go back to the throttle, like driving on eggshells.
Wow. Wilson moves to 4th. Simona Di Silvestro, she has been battling with Rafa Matos all race long, and they make contact, and Rafa almost goes over.
Well, as you said, she's been hounding Rafa all day. Here it is. Watch, she's going to pop to the inside, and left front is just going to go right there with his right rear, pops him up.
Excuse me, playing through. But that definitely, she's aggressive. You got to give her that, but she was not in position. Ryan Hunter-Reay on pit road.
Waiting for fuel. You saw the tires were on there, and they were saying, hold up, you got to get all the fuel, and we got to fill you up.
If your tires are good, if you're happy, like we assume Will Power is, you'll still be able to go another 3 to 4 laps, and you want to if you can. If your tires are toast, come in now.
Well, Will Power is running a second quicker than the 4 guys behind him right now, so he's okay. Staying on track right there.
Called a cold tire penalty. The longer you can stay out running, even though your tires are worn, you're light on fuel, you have hot tires. He's making distance on anybody who just stopped, who has a heavy fuel load and cold tires.
Yep. And let me give you the update on when your leader anticipates pitting. He is going to go 3 more laps, so he would push the envelope to lap 28.
Already a third of this race has been completed, and Will Power has led since the drop of the green flag.
I grabbed Will after the drivers' meeting this morning, and if you remember, Bob, we were sitting up here and we were on board with him. I'm like, boy, doesn't that car look just nice to drive? He wasn't working hard with the wheel, and I asked him, I'm like, your car looks real nice, and he just smiled. He said, yeah, I think it is.
Watching Graham Rahal and Simona Di Silvestro there briefly as their battle for 5th as Elio comes in for his first pit stop. Tony Kanaan also getting service behind him and peels out.
Most people going for the blacks if they didn't start on them. Remember, you're required to run 2 laps at speed under green on each type of tire. So the big choice will come at the end of the race, and I would be shocked if anyone didn't want to finish on reds because they're so much faster.
Yeah, but you know the problem is, Jan, what everybody's doing is they're really looking at these alternate tires when they come off because, as we said, they're trying to figure out how many laps can we get off of them at the end of the race before we experience what Elio Castroneves did. This is going to be fun to be able to track. How long do you stay with the blacks? Do you push this fuel window out as far as possible?
I agree, Jack. It's going to be really interesting to see what is the fall off on the blacks as they get to the end of that sequence. Or the driver's going to be saying, hey, I'm holding on in this thing. Bring me in. But when you're trying to get to that lap 50 mark to make it home safely, it's a trade-off for the strategists on the stand to figure out what's the best move.
Justin Wilson hits pit road. He was in 4th position, gives that up to make his first scheduled pit stop.
And Larry Curry told him to race hard from the green. Don't worry about fuel. We saw a lot of people go out there, hold him. Now they're sitting. They want him to race hard from the get-home. Same thing with Graham Rahal. He said, I have to last longer than anybody else, but he's not going to last longer than Will Power. But the team, Dreyer and Ryan Bull, they say, race hard, don't worry about fuel. And you question how good those reds were. Larry Curry said, no fall off for Justin Wilson. He was fine.
And you could see written on that tire, did you catch that, Robbie? Rebalance. They had written on there, so you hope that they actually made it down there and got that done. But you oftentimes will do that. If you're going with a scuffed set of tires, you'll run them in, send them back to Firestone, get them rebalanced so they're all nice and true.
This is Alex Lloyd and Danica Patrick we saw there for a moment. Now here is Graham Rahal and Tony Kanaan as they battle.
And we just saw Graham come out of the pits, so his tires are just come up to pressure and temperature, and TK's been out there, so TK has got to get him right now. If he doesn't get him now, once Graham gets those tires up to temperature, he's going to probably just maybe gap him a little bit.
This is for 12th position. Graham has it. Kanaan wants it. BJ Piso running ahead of them as they head down into turn 7.
That was Rafa Matos right there behind TK, so obviously his car wasn't damaged in that altercation where we saw him kind of get up a little bit with Simona.
And Simona comes in for a stop. She had moved up to 4th.
And taking off those Firestone Reds. And I thought I saw a little wiggle from the front wing. Yep, they're checking it right there, making sure everything's flopping crazy, but they're going to send her. Talking to Michael Cannon, you know, yesterday we talked about flipping that switch from stupid to smart. He said we're going to 11. We're going to be super smart. But, boy, she looks like Kyle Busch out there today, making a lot of contact.
Well, Jan, when she just stopped there, we both kind of looked at each other. We saw Simona's left front end plate, and that obviously did get into the back of Alex Tagliani's red sidewall Firestone, and that what made that red mark.
Oh, and Simona has spun.
That's out of the pits on full tires, guys.
You know, out laps are important.
Here's Will Power giving up the lead to make his first pit stop. We'll keep an eye on Simona to see if this brings out a full course caution. No, it will not, as she has the car rolling again. Here comes Will. 60 miles an hour is the speed limit down on pit lane. And he hits the marks, and the crew goes to work.
Will Power perfectly on his marks. Red tires off, black tires on. They said they're doing a lot of fuel at this stop, and he's out.
You can see where the 10 car is in relationship to the, here he is on pit lane. And Scott Dixon is pitted right behind Dario.
Look at these boys fighting it out.
So the top three all on the exact same fuel strategy. That shows, Robbie, you opened by saying how competitive this series is. One of the goals is, can I possibly go a lap longer than anyone else? It's so competitive, the top three, nobody could do it. They're all, that's the max they can manage to squeeze out of a tank.
See what happened to Simona Di Silvestro. She had just made a pit stop.
And your out laps, Bob, as we've talked about so much, are critical.
Biso makes his stop and moves back out on the racetrack. Here it is.
Wow, look at them go by. How quickly they go by on the racetrack. Yep.
Oh, she got some help.
Yeah.
Was that Rafa? I saw Rafa go by. I don't think it was Rafa. That was a KB car.
So, wow, she's been the recipient and the deliverer today.
What goes around comes around. Look at this grouping right here. Franchitti, Dixon, Elio, Justin.
Will Power is the leader of this race. We'll take another break and be back with more in a moment at the Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma on Versus.
Anything Mayo can do, we can do Boulder. The choice is yours. Are you up for some sandwich kick and flavor? Are you Miracle Whip?
Max Film, multi-purpose synthetic lubricant from Royal Purple. The easy spray answer to penetrate, lubricate, and leave a long-lasting film that protects. Forget old-school aerosols and break free with Max Film, multi-purpose synthetic lubricant from Royal Purple.
Select iZod IndyCar driver. Driver selected, Marco Andretti. Select race transport. Mission, finish first. Fastest drivers in the world. See who wins at racetotheparty.com.
Racing is extremely physical.
Extremely physical. Handling that 650 horsepower car. You can feel the engine kicking your butt. You're in a car and it's beating you up.
Your head hurts, your back hurts, your muscles ache.
I've gone into some races where after the third or fourth lap, I'm like, we have how many laps to go?
NASCAR comes to Versus with a Whelen Modified Tour, and the race is on for the short tracks. Open wheels and high-speed thrills. Versus takes you back when NASCAR got its roots. A NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour from Thompson International Speedway, Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern, only on Versus. And, of course, Jack Arute is the play-by-play announcer for that, with Jimmy Spencer in the booth with him. So, Jackie, we look forward to the race on Wednesday at 7 o'clock.
I knew you would do that, man.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
It's good racing, though. It really is.
I did tune in for that, as you know, Jackie, and we talked afterwards. I enjoyed it thoroughly, the entertainment of you and Jimmy.
Yep.
I think one of the great things is a lot of people have said they're NASCAR Indy cars.
That's right. All right, Will Power goes to the inside of E.J. Viso and puts him a lap down. There are now 21 cars on the lead lap as E.J. goes a lap down.
Yeah, I saw a little donut stripe on the right pod there of E.J. as Will went by.
Power enjoys a 7-second lead over Marco Andretti, who's running in second position. And there is J.R. Hildebrand, who was running in third spot.
Remember, JR's on a different pit sequence than what Franchitti, Dixon, and Elio are on.
So this is for position, but he's in a similar circumstance to Marco Andretti, who's shown in second. Dixon, again, for position, but J.R. Hildebrand as well as Marco Andretti, unless there was some massive long caution, will have to pit 2 more times.
J.R. Hildebrand with the IZOD fastest lap. How about that?
And
on lap
there's
number
one
13.
of his stops right there. So unfortunately, he'll give up all that track position, and you could see just at the end of that shot that his teammate Justin Wilson's getting racy again.
Yeah. And hopefully what you do by being out of sequence, when he does get tires and fills up here, you can come back out on the track, have some clear running, and just run as hard as you can.
And unofficially, this is the final race for Ryan Moldy in the Trans Systems car today. Now, yesterday was very upset that he didn't get more out of those Firestone Reds. Oh, a little pickup right there with the fuel nozzle. He was very upset he didn't get more with those Firestone Reds, but he turns the fastest lap. Robbie, I don't think he's upset anymore, and I guess they did finally fall off.
And a first full course caution comes out as Milcaduno has looped it coming out of turn number 7. So finally at lap number 33, we have a break in the action.
Hey, guys, this is a big break for Marco Andretti. Remember, he pitted out of sequence, and he managed to battle his way up through the field. Now with this full course yellow, Robbie and Jan, he can get back on sequence.
Well, he can, but he's going to lose all that track position, Jack. I mean, if they're really gamblers, they could stay out and hope that they have lots and lots of caution and only have one more stop, but they would need a lot of help of yellow to do that.
Remember, Marco Andretti does have the alternate tires, while the majority of the guys in front of him and behind him are running the primary black tire to dispatch with that as well. So it's going to be interesting to see the decisions that Marco Andretti's team makes here.
Yeah, I think they'll probably pull him in and give him fuel, and unfortunately, that's going to put him right back into the order, because as he goes into the pits, those other guys fly by. Yep. But at least he'll have caught up behind the pace car.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a gamble to just get enough laps to get to one more stop.
Yeah, that'd be a huge roll today.
Yeah.
So at least this way, you're full of fuel, you're back on strategy, and then your final stop, he won't need as much fuel. So his final stop, he can leapfrog some.
Yeah, hopefully you get a little bit of that track position back.
34 of 75 laps have been completed with Will Power having led the entire race so far. Here is the Will Power car. You know, whenever I think, having gone back a long time in auto racing, of Penske Racing, I think of Mark Donohue. And 35 years ago, last Thursday, Mark died of injury sustained in a crash during the morning warm-up at the Austrian Grand Prix. Among his many accomplishments, Mark Donohue was the winner of the 1972 Indianapolis 500. Jack.
Hey, down here at the Fiat Performance Pit Center, we like to always take a look at these pit stops. We've isolated Will Power's outside front tire changer, and that, of course, is Billy Vincent. Where I want you to pay attention as we roll it is what he does with the gun. Now, the key is, as we've said, as Jan did in one of his Professor B's earlier, see when he dropped the gun down, that automatically reversed it, so when he puts the center lug back on, it doesn't have to make any changes. But Vincent also has to look down pit road. You notice the way he did? Make sure that everything was clear before he sent William Power back out on the racetrack.
Nicely done. And you talk about heart rate. You know, Ryan Hunter-Reay's heart rate gets up there consistently, but when you're a crew member, and sure enough, Marco Andretti, as well as Viso. And again, it'll drop them back in the order, but they'll be full, they'll catch back up, and their next stop will be shorter.
Watch Marco make the pit stop here as EJ peels off into his assigned area. And 2 different areas of pits here.
Marco Andretti, who won here in 06, was not happy to be starting 18th today. He said, we are just going to have to do what we have to do to get up there. We are going to speak to his strategist, Kyle Moyer, in just a second, Bob, to see what...
Simone Di Silvestro also makes a pit stop during this full course caution, the very first in this race, caused by Milcaduna, who spin out in turn number 7.
New nose and wing, so that'll help her tremendously. Anytime that's flopping around, you're going to lose a lot of speed. So now she'll be at the back as far as track position, but it'll be much racier.
But you also have to just eliminate that risk of something busting off on that front wing and putting in the fence out there. You know, you got to have your equipment working for you out there.
Hey, Bob, we've caught up with Al Spire, who directs all the racing here for Firestone Tires. And Al, a little unusual. We talked yesterday during the qualifying show about this new alternate tire that you've brought to Sonoma. What have your engineers seen so far with the performance of this tire and what these teams are going to have to face in the second half of the race?
Well, first of all, Jack, we can absolutely confirm that Alex Tagliani's tire was cut when he had trouble in the beginning of the race. But the main thing is the red alternate tires, they got about 25 laps in them, and they give up. Their fronts are very, very worn near the end. It's going to be very interesting to see what they put back on. But I think the important thing is we're getting those passes that we wanted to see.
Well, I think the other thing, when we went down and we checked on Helio Castroneves, the car was down to the cords, but still the car was also getting around the racetrack. We're getting ready back to green, but we appreciate you taking us and updating us on the Firestone situation.
Absolutely, Jack.
Thanks, Al. Guys, here we go.
And that is a very great point, because they take a huge risk as a tire company, making something that only lasts 25 laps. But that's what everyone has asked for. Robbie and I have asked for it. The drivers have asked for it. You know, do that because it makes the racing great.
And here we go off of the expanded corner number 11. And the green flag comes out for another Apex Brazil restart. Technically, this was the second full course caution. Of course, the first came out just after the green flag drop when Dan Weldon flipped on the main straightaway. He's okay. And look at Will Power put distance between himself and Briscoe early on.
And before we went yellow, Power had about a 6-second gap. Looks like he's already pulling that out.
Yeah, and now there's a gap, and all the rest of them are like just right on top of each other. This is good stuff here.
Justin Wilson is 6th.
Back to throttle in the right place there. Just picked it up nicely, not working the wheel too hard. Pretty good balance.
Tucking and weaving. Everybody stays in position. Oh, except for Danica. Danica gets to the inside of Muto.
Yeah, good job. On board with Tony Kanaan, who is in 9th position. Headed for turn number 9.
Graham Rahal right in front of him. And that was, TK was one of the guys we saw kind of pop out a little bit as they went into turn 7 there, just to let everybody know he's thinking, I want to move up.
Rafa Matos right behind him.
Watch the incline right there. There was where you have just a big load in this car going up from 3A, 3 to 3B.
And then it's like falling off the edge of a cliff.
And so what TK wants to do now here to set up Graham is you come through this long sweeping turn 6 carousel. He wants to be thinking about getting back to Power, because the sooner he can get to Power ahead of Rahal, that sets him up to make a good pass here as you go down to 7.
Now check out, we talk a lot of times about in-laps and out-laps. So if you take some of the front runners and look at that, check out Castroneves. Look how slow he was struggling to try and get that car to the pits as compared to Power. And then he lights it up on the way out. and does nearly the same kind of time as Power. So that shows exactly what Al Spire was talking about. In the case of Castro Neves, his tires were down, he was struggling, and those are the kind of laps that pay the money.
I'm really surprised because Castro Neves, as I said earlier, he told me, he said, I think mine go off over a second. And I said to you, Jan, I said, I think he was kind of bluffing me a little bit. He was not.
Elio just ahead of Justin Wilson. Wilson is 6th, Castro Neves 5th. Ahead of Castro Neves is Dixon, Franchitti, Briscoe, and our leader.
It will be interesting to see if Castro Neves, as we get 20 or so laps into the stick, being on the Firestone black sidewalls, to see if he has that same fall off or not.
That will be a great question. And also, it's worth noting that as a race goes on and there's more rubber on the racetrack, tires last longer. So the final stint, if it was 25 in the first stint, it might be 26, 27 later on.
38 laps completed out of 75 at the Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma. It's Power, Briscoe, Franchitti, Dixon, and Castro Neves. And yet another caution has come out here at Infineon Raceway. Our third of the evening, Marco Andretti and J.R. Hildebrand had a coming together with J.R. stalling the car and therefore bringing out the full course caution. Here it is.
That was Rafael Matos that made that smoke. And then from way back, Marco,
And you can see where he got locked up.
Yeah.
He locked up those rears and tried to chase it, and JR was in the wrong place.
Yep, Marco kept going. Hildebrand was not. And the pits are going to open up. You'll be able to see the pit stops if anybody makes one in our non-stop. We'll take another break here and be back with a resumption of this Eyes on IndyCar Series event.
500 drivers put complete trust in their cars. But when you're out on the road trying to make it to work, are you sure you can trust your motor oil?
Put your trust in Peak Performance Motor Oil. Formulated to protect against thermal breakdown, Peak is the only motor oil tough enough to be the official oil of the Indianapolis 500.
Whether you cover 500 miles in a few hours or it takes hours to get to work, you can count on Peak. When you peak, you win.
This one's hilarious. I'm out of wheat thins. My life is officially over. Kind of dramatic. Tabitha.
Yes.
Okay, do you recall tweeting, I'm out of wheat thins. My life is officially over.
Yeah?
We got a hold of that. We just want you to be sure that you're aware that we have plenty of wheat thins. And that's for you. That's just a gift.
That is a lot of wheat thins. Oh my gosh.
Everybody in the van, let's go. In the truck. You take care, all right? Come on, boys. Who's next?
Story about a man with a car and a job, a wife and a kid. His name is Bob. Just a regular guy with a regular car, but it's what he rolls on that makes him a star. Firestone. His Firestone tires are known far and wide. The way they perform gives a sense of pride. That's Bob's story. He ain't no liar, because everybody knows the legends ride fire.
Legendary drivers need legendary tires.
I compete with sugarcane ethanol.
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 I compete with sugarcane ethanol. Ethanol is the fuel we use on every IZOD IndyCar race. Cane ethanol diversifies America's fuel supply.
And it should be in your tank. It's in mine. Learn more about advanced, renewable sugarcane ethanol.
Welcome back to Infineon Raceway, and it's been a record season for Will Power. He has 4 wins, 8 poles, tied for the number of top 5s and for the number of running at the finish, and he has led 12 races. We are ready to go back to green after a very quick caution from J.R. Hildebrand, who apparently is going to be out of the race. He's still in pit lane as we get the green flag. And Ryan Briscoe running second, being chased down by Dario Franchitti, and Scott Dixon is right there. Will Power has led all the way so far.
Dario definitely looked as though he wanted to take a look at Briscoe there, didn't he, as he's come up underneath the bridge?
Brian Briscoe can't quite stay behind Will Power and kind of gets in the way of those other guys a little bit, that wouldn't be too much of a problem. I think the captain would say that's okay.
Will Power has clinched the bonus points for leading most laps.
I think Briscoe's doing everything he can in that cockpit to try and stay up with Power.
No, the way it's working, though, is it's quite handy for Will Power to have his teammate back there not quite able to stay with him.
Only twice in the history of the Eyes on IndyCar series has a race been led flag to flag, both times done by a Target Chip Ganassi driver. Scott Dixon did it in 2003 at Richmond, and of course Dario did it here last year.
Well, it really is just an incredibly technical racetrack. You know, you have all the blind corners where the cars get light, and you can't see where that apex is. And when it comes to drivers that are good at putting the car exactly where they want, Dario is a master of it.
Hey guys, I've been taking a listen to Scott Dixon's radio with Mike Hull, and as you watch him with Dario Franchitti in front of him, you'll notice that Scott really isn't attacking for that position, and there may be a reason why. They have been talking back and forth, and they say that they have carried out this fuel stint and think that Scott Dixon can go one additional lap over everybody else. Might that be the money lap? Let's check in with Robbie Floyd.
Thanks, Jack. I'm with J.R. Hildebrand in the Transistor car, now out of the race. Bent toe link, bent wishbone. What was it like out there for you?
Oh, it was a little rough out there. Got into it with Vizo going up the hill into 2 on the restart, and the thing was a little out of whack after that. And then just there on the a couple laps in after the restart, got like an okay run coming out, but coming out of 6 going up the hill, and tried to break late. I knew Marco was close, but I didn't see him pop on me at all, so I just thought, I could go in deep, I'll break him, be able to wrap it around the outside. I tried to give him room. I don't want to say too much without seeing a replay or something, but the only time I saw him was coming into my side pod, so nowhere to go.
The Firestone Reds are meant to be softer, quicker. They fall off earlier. That's the idea. What was it like out there when you noticed they did go off?
Oh man, I mean, I should have done that in qualifying. We ripped off a couple of really good ones straight away, but then they definitely tail off. This is a tough circuit, and there's no tire that's going to be able to work perfect around here all the time. You're not going to be able to get both, and maybe it's a little bit of setup. Maybe I was pushing a little bit too hard on the brakes to catch up to some of those guys and rip off the laps, but we definitely had the fronts go off there at the end.
When it went really wet.
Yeah, it was wet. I was just trying to keep the thing on the track after that.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks.
Like to see him get a full-time ride in this series. A good kid from just down the road in Sausalito, California. I'm sure he has lots of family here today, and unfortunately his day comes to a premature end as we see Will now stretching it out to almost 2 seconds on Briscoe. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 running very, very close. Castro Neves is 5th, Wilson 6th, and Ryan Hunter-Ray is running in 7th spot.
Each one waiting for some kind of change of momentum, waiting for a little mistake, and then they'll pounce. Be close enough that if someone makes a mistake, you're close enough to take advantage of it.
Well, as Jack said, maybe the strategy that Dixon's going with is if he can go a lap longer, I'm not worried about pouncing on anybody, but I know when I can go that lap longer, if I can go a second faster on that lap, being later on fuel, is that what's going to get me that position?
Marco Andretti is back at it as he comes up on Mario Moraes. And this was a lap ago. Trying to get to the inside of Mario, bangs wheels with him and does not get the position.
I think he was just trying to push him out of the way.
Marco is in 19th at the moment. Simona Di Silvestro, you saw, is in 20th spot just behind him. Stay with us for more of the Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma.
Select IZOD IndyCar driver. Driver selected Ryan Hunter-Ray. Select race transport. Mission finish first. racetotheparty.com.
Only real car guys could have come up with this.
One product that cleans wheels and tires.
Keep your wheels and tires looking great.
Looking great. Looking great.
With foaming all-wheel and tire cleaner from Mothers. Just spray on, hose off, and that's it.
It's really that easy.
A unique spot-free rinse with no need to hand dry.
At Mazda Americas.
At Fuss Design.
At MHT Wheels.
At Pirelli Tire North America.
We all agree.
Nothing performs like Mother's foaming all-wheel and tire cleaner.
Three-time Indy 500 winner, Elio Castro-Neves. Danica Patrick into the lead, making history. Fans on their feet for the side-by-side action. Your series champion.
The Izod IndyCar Series. Get tickets now. Call 866-INDYCAR or visit IndyCar.com.
There's a reason why. In 5 years of powering every car in the Indianapolis 500 race, not a single Honda engine has failed. It's not the parts we make them from. It's the part we put in to every Honda.
We're keeping track of second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh because the leader, Will Power, has taken off once again. He has stretched his advantage to 3.5 seconds over Ryan Briscoe. And there you see Ryan, followed by Franchitti and Dixon and Castro-Neves, Wilson. Also, Ryan Hunter-Ray and Graham Rahal. Graham has had a great race today in that 06 car, quick trim from Newman Haas Racing. Currently running in 8th. Let's get down to Robbie Floyd on pit lane.
Well, Larry Curry tells me just a second. He's going to wait for his driver to come around one more time because he has a very big decision to make. Does he go with the old reds that he has a few laps on, or does he go to new blacks or scuff blacks for that matter? Big decision. He says he will talk to us, and I want to talk to the man himself. He's talked to his driver, Justin Wilson, who last year drove from 22nd spot up to 7th, and we saw the impressiveness at the end of the race. Larry, that big decision, which do you go, the old reds or the new blacks or scuff blacks?
We're going to see how much the tires fall off on these blacks, and then we're going to make a decision here in about 5 laps.
He can hold those reds longer than anybody out there. How confident are you for how many laps?
We're pretty confident that we can finish this race on them.
All right, thanks a lot, Larry.
Okay, there you go.
Excellent.
On board with Justin, running 6th.
And I definitely think that is the call you want to make. If you can manage to finish this on reds, I think that's the way to go.
And you said at the top of the show, in the warm-up this morning, Wilson made a change that really made him happy with that race car.
It is just after 4 o'clock on the West Coast, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. We are on lap number 48 of 75 in this race, and Jan Bikus will kind of recap the wild start that we had to this event.
And that's a good way to lead, Bob, because the start was wild for Dan Weldon. Everything was looking good until he gets tripped up by Baguette. And look at the strength of that roll hoop as he pirouettes over the top. Thankfully, Weldon didn't even get to take the green flag, but he was A-OK. Lap 19, Alex Tagliani unfortunately has a cut tire from Simona de Silvestro. Prior to that, he was starting to lose some grip and fell and lost his momentum, but this put him on pit road. Now, speaking of Silvestro, she makes an aggressive move, a bit too aggressive, and point. Hey, sorry about that, Raphael. Everything's cool. They keep running. I'm going to play on through, but she gets a bit of a payback here from E.J. Viso. He gets in there a little too hot, gets her up in the air, but she manages to keep it running. Doesn't bring out a full course caution, but obviously loses all kinds of track position. Here was the move we heard J.R. Hildebrand just talk about. He said he left Andretti room. He certainly did, but Marco came in too hot, got the thing cockeyed with rear brake bias, and slammed into J.R. Hildebrand. Unfortunately, Local Boy does not get the finish today. Lap 43, same kind of deal. A little bit of rubbing up there in turn number 7 does Marco Andretti. And I wouldn't be surprised if race control may have had a couple words with the team. You have that much contact out there, they start calling down on the team saying, hey, let's keep it clean, boys.
All right, well, fewest lead changes. Again, we mentioned that only 2 races in IZOD IndyCar Series history have been led from flag to flag, and we are in the midst of doing that right now because Will Power has led all the way, and he has a 5.1 second advantage on Ryan Briscoe on lap 49 of 75. They're talking about the new aerodynamic package that you can attach to a safety cell made by Dallara. Well, these are from fans, and you too can put in your own designs if you go to the IndyCar.com website /2012, and you can design your own aerodynamic package on the Dallara safety cell. So, yeah. So
some of those were great.
Yeah.
Great looking. Haven't seen them in a wind tunnel, but they sure look sweet.
IndyCar.com /2012. Back on the racetrack, we have Will Power leading the event by about 5.3 seconds as Tony Kanaan's crew lays out for him. He is running in 9th position in the Dr. Pepper colored car this weekend.
And this is within the window of your final stop. If you were leading, you wouldn't stop now, but if you're Tony Kanaan thinking you're getting impeded on the racetrack, yeah, go ahead, because if you pit now and there's a caution, you'll get a free pass to the front.
Well, and what'll be fun to watch is to see if they elect to go back to the used alternate tires or not, because it will be such a long run for Tony Kanaan at the end of the race.
Great point.
And for TK to come in, he's been behind that guy right there, Graham Rahal, here for the better part of this stint. And it looks like he may be held up just a little bit. So come on in, get back out with some fresh rubber and some clean running, hopefully.
Graham Rahal's had a good race today. He started 16th today and is up to the 8th position as TK does come in for his pit stop. And Lindy Thaxton is there.
And his crew is ready with some fresh red tires. A good story about this crew over the wall waiting for him, guys, is do you remember Nick Ford? He's the crew member who was burnt in a shop accident back in the month of May. This is his first race back over the wall. You see him right there, right now. Working hard fast. Fuel is in. Tony is out.
Well, there's not a tougher position than changing the right rear, and he had that done in no time, so he hadn't missed a beat.
He was picking up tires.
Yeah.
They were only halfway through. That was nicely done.
It answers our questions. Just, you know, we're looking back at the Firestone Reds. He says that's the happy tire I want to be on to finish this thing.
Understand that Ryan Hunter-Ray may be in soon. He's currently running in 7th.
And very similar strategy. If you feel like you're not able to, if you feel you're impeded in any way out there and you can run quicker, just pit now. It's within the window. And see if you get some clear running.
Justin Wilson just ahead of him. Let's keep an eye on him. He will come to pit lane. Ryan Hunter-Ray makes what hopefully will be his final pit stop of the day.
These will be longer stops than those who wait because you need enough fuel to make it to the end, obviously. So those who can wait longer will take less fuel. They'll be a faster stop.
And when you talk about that, I mean, again, you're talking about tenths and hundreds of seconds, but that is the type of competition that we got in the series right now.
7.7 seconds for Ryan Hunter-Ray. He goes back on the racetrack.
Ryan Briscoe, we could see on the onboard, he had made a pit stop. Here he is getting back up to speed. Sorry, that's Power, excuse me. That's our leader, Will Power. But his teammate, Briscoe, did also take an opportunity to stop. And then I also saw Marco Andretti, just as we saw Ryan Hunter-Ray leave, his teammate, Marco Andretti, looked like he also was making an early stop.
Get an idea there of the lead that Will has with 22 laps to go. And it looks like that Ryan Hunter has come out just ahead of TK.
Oh, this will be good. And we've talked about these guys being buddies. I mean, they both, is he going to get it done? He gave him some space. I mean,
lots of room.
If you're ever down on pit road, when the session's over, those two guys, Ryan Hunter-Ray and TK, get together.
Justin Wilson relinquishes fourth. Robbie?
Big question was, did he go blacks or reds? The answer is reds. No changes on the car except for a tire pressure adjustment. I asked Larry Curry, are you going to have to bail it all? I said, no, Robbie, we got to go for it. He's going to give it 110. Watch out for him. Oh, man, a little bobble there. Disappointment. But watch out for Wilson. You know he's going to charge hard. But here comes Graham Rahal right behind him.
Little hang up on the right front there.
And when you see a 7-7 followed by a 9-1.
But it also seems like eternity sitting here when we're watching that right front guy. I mean, it's only a couple seconds, but man.
Especially when it's your car.
Yeah.
Like, come on, get that tire on there.
That's where I really got to clean up things in my head.
Simona Di Silvestro running 19th. Mario Moraes is just ahead of her, so that would be for position.
Look at that little battle there.
Yeah.
Graham, TK, and Ryan Hunter-Ray. Now, TK looks like he's got a good run, guys. Good run. There he is. You bet.
Meanwhile, Franchitti, who was second, will make his final pit stop of the day.
Which would be the one longer lap for Dixon, as Jack was telling us.
Yep.
Yeah, but the key is it's one longer for his teammate, Lindy.
Well, in comes Dario Franchitti, pulls right in front of Chip Ganassi. Telling him what to do. Oh, we have an incident on track, Bob.
We do, but Lindy, what we saw is that he went on blacks. So that was a change from what we've seen the other leaders do. So now, a bit of a roll of the dice. Dario Franchitti going with blacks and not reds.
How about that?
And that was Alex Tagliani that we saw spun there, kept the motor fired up, and turn 7's back underway.
Yep.
Guys, this is where it's going to get interesting. You have the 12 and the 6 and the 9 that have gone longer than any of the other front runners. And this is one of those mano-a-mano confrontations between two teams. If you're Clive Howell, how long do you leave the 12 out? If you are Mike Hull, you've already laid the gauntlet down saying, we think we can go one lap longer than the leader. This is going to be fun in the next couple of laps.
Meanwhile, this battle rages on here with Moraes, Di Silvestro, Mira, and Muto.
And we talk about the money laps. We talked about Dixon as the fuel lightens up. Will Power is still running about a half a second faster than Dixon. So what Dixon's just going to have to do this, he's really fighting for that second spot because I think Will Power's got everybody covered.
Yeah. How close these guys are.
Yeah.
Guys and gals, Simona Di Silvestro putting the heat. And every once in a while, you see something fly off of the cars, especially down there. That is, there's so much rubber that they have peeled off these Firestones. It's called marbles. It collects on the tires, and she pops to the inside.
Go for the spot and get it from Mario Moraes.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's where we've really seen everybody fight the brake pedal as you challenge that corner. So to get that pass done there as cleanly as she did.
Now here comes Mira to take a shot. Won't get it done, though.
And of course, Simona had some practice because she was short of the mark with Matos, learned her lesson, adjusted, and pow, took care of Moraes.
And she got a good payback right up in turn 2. Very similar to the leader.
Here he is, Will Power.
And I'm going to keep my eyes on Dixon, see if he... And Dixon stays on track.
All right.
So Dixon is getting his extra lap. There he goes. You can see him on the right of the screen.
Yep.
Guys, this was demoralizing for the 12th crew. They waited to see if Dixon was going to come out, and all of a sudden, he stayed out. They knew this was coming. Now they've got to go to work.
Work completed. Power is off once again.
Well, Dixon did a lap of 1:21 flat that time before, so we'll just see if he can challenge himself to better that.
Here comes Franchitti.
So that's the gap for Franchitti, who, of course, has already stopped and has blacks, and we saw Power took on reds.
Only one running up front who has not made his stop is Scott Dixon, and here he is.
And he's got to be pushing for all he's worth right now. This is what will pay. But there was a pretty big gap between he and Power. It would have to be a miracle for him to get out in front of him.
As I say, it's really more about him padding his position for that second spot than challenging Power.
Yeah, he might close it, but Power had such a big gap.
You think he can stay out for one? You think we're going to see him in right now, or is he going to come by again?
I think he could go another. See if he does.
He's in.
Yep, negative.
He's in.
But it's still one more lap than Power, so well done, Scott.
Yeah, so I can't give you a difference of what he did that lap time before because he's ducked in. So.
And guys, watch. Remember, as you said, Jan, if you can go farther, you don't have to take as much fuel. Fuel travels into these cars at about 3 gallons a second. Would you like to get about 4/10?
Yeah, but you can see on the track map the Power is already making his way to 11, so we'll probably see him flash by.
Oh, yeah, there he is already.
Well, you're in
out
Franchitti.
Here have to be
this will be close with his teammate. His teammate comes around the outside.
So Franchitti will be second, Dixon third, and Ryan Briscoe's going to be fourth, but the lead is held by Will Power, and he continues to set the pace here in Sonoma.
IndyCar Grand Prix of Sonoma on Versus is brought to you by Apex Brazil. To learn more about our Brazilian goods and services, log on to experienceourenergy.com. And by iZod, the official apparel sponsor of the iZod IndyCar Series, available at Macy's.
Purple for increased horsepower, superior protection, and fewer oil changes come at no additional charge. Royal Purple is available at quality oil change centers and auto parts stores nationwide. Find one near you at royalpurple.com.
At TireRack.com, we stock the largest selection of tires anywhere, all at great low prices. But we don't just ship them off to your house after you buy them. We can deliver them to one of over 5,000 of our independent recommended local installers. Because the best tires in the world can't help you if they're not properly installed on your vehicle. A national network of over 5,000 recommended installers. One more way, Tire Rack is revolutionizing the way you buy tires. TireRack.com. Research, buy, deliver, install.
Anything Mayo can do, we can do Boulder. The choice is yours. Are you up for some sandwich kick and flavor? Are you Miracle Whip?
Select iZod IndyCar driver. Driver selected Tony Kanaan. Select race transport. Mission finish first. The fastest drivers in the world. See who wins at racetotheparty.com.
The Target Chip Ganassi drivers, Dario Franchitti and Scott Dixon, have been running together on the racetrack all afternoon long. Will they be able to team up and do anything about Will Power? Well, I don't think so, because Power has been so dominant here this afternoon. He is not going to lead every lap because during the pit stop, Scott Dixon led 2 laps, but Power has a 4.2 second lead on Franchitti and about a 5.4 second advantage on Dixon.
you know, then you go back and you look at Briscoe and Elio in that 4th and 5th spot, and we've talked about the Firestone red and black. So if you remember that first segment with both Elio and Briscoe, they really slowed up once we got to, I don't know what it was, probably lap 22 or something, or 20 on the reds, and just went backwards. They have both gone back out to finish this race on the Firestone primaries. Yep.
Chopper shot gave you a great vantage point, great idea of the elevation changes. When you're shooting just off of turn 2, you can really get an idea of that. Now, we talked about in and out laps. Again, let's review. And the number that really sticks out to me is Dixon. There's no question he was trying hard. Check out that out lap there. The rest of the laps, reasonably consistent. He gave up a little bit on the way in, maybe saving fuel, but the rest of those, that shows how competitive. We're talking tenths and hundredths of a second making the difference.
It shows you how good Dixon is to produce that kind of outlap. I mean, that's not just one time we've seen that. I mean, he usually is always at the top of the charts on that, you know, extra in-lap, outlap to get it done.
There you see the number of overtake assists left.
So you think Dixon's going to get a little racy on Dario? He's got the Firestone Reds on it. You got to think he's going to say, hey, I got a lot more momentum. I can roll through the corners here with running these Reds. Dario, I'm coming.
But guys, remember what we talked about at the beginning, the task at hand for both Will Power and for Dario Franchitti. This is the final road course, which is in the wheelhouse of Will Power, the current guy that runs on top of the points. But with the average finishes that Will Power had in the first four ovals, Dario Franchitti was superior by 40-plus points. Well, Power's been able to get the bonus today for sitting on the pole. He's got the bonus for leading the most laps. This has not gone unnoticed by Dario Franchitti. Franchitti is sitting in a position where he's got to try and not necessarily race his teammate. As Chip Ganassi, I'm sure, has told him there on the right-hand side of the screen, we're in it for the long haul, not only for this race, but for the points championship as well. And the pendulum may just swing over to the target cars when we get to the oval.
Oh, here goes Dixon.
Yeah, Dario even almost looked like he was, as they came off of turn 6, they're even kind of aggressively pulled over to say, Scott, you run through there.
And that, I think, is the best visual reference of red versus black. There's just a really big difference, which is what a lot of people have been asking out of Firestone, and that creates the passing.
Hey, yeah, but let me ask you a question. If you were Chip Ganassi and those guys, and you're in this points chase, knowing how dicey it is with the red tires, seeing what has happened, and when they did it, if you're going to chase for maximum points, do you elect to go with the blacks because you know you can go the distance and you aren't going to run them to the cords?
I think, Jack, it's a little bit of doing something different. You have one car on reds, you put one car on blacks, and let's just say somebody got it wrong, like Will Power. Let's say he got to the end of the stint and all of a sudden he couldn't keep the car on the racetrack, and you had one of your cars on blacks, at least you're covered.
Battle for 10th position here. Rafa Matos in 10th. Takuma Sato behind him in the 11th position. Matos only has 4 overtakes left.
Should also point out, Scott Dixon is still alive in the championship. We keep talking Dario, but Scott Dixon, don't look out for him on the ovals.
Yep. And those ovals begin next Saturday night at Chicagoland Speedway. Then we go to Kentucky Speedway, and then Motegi, and of course the final race is at Homestead, Miami. Will Power leads here in the Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma at Infineon Raceway on Versus.
Runs on sugar.
Sweet sugarcane ethanol.
It's an advanced biofuel recognized by the EPA
because it cuts greenhouse emissions by 60% compared to gasoline.
And can save you money at the pump. Fast and sweet and clean and lovely, the fuel from sugar cane goes racing. I can dance. Nah, I cannot sing. But one thing we can agree, we race on ethanol.
Story about a man with a car and a
job, a wife and a kid. His name is Bob. Just a regular guy with a regular car, but it's what he rolls on that makes him a star. His Firestone tires are known far and wide. The way they perform gives a sense of pride. That's Bob's story. He ain't no liar, because everybody knows the legends ride fire.
Legendary drivers need legendary tires.
At the Indy 500, drivers put complete trust in their cars. But when you're out on the road trying to make it to work, are you sure you can trust your motor oil?
Put your trust in Peak Performance Motor Oil. Formulated to protect against thermal breakdown, Peak is the only motor oil tough enough to be the official oil of the Indianapolis 500.
Whether you cover 500 miles in a few hours or it takes hours to get to work, you can count on Peak. When you peak, you win.
Welcome back to Sonoma. You saw a little incident there with Takuma Sato and Rafael Matos. We are on board with Will Power once again, the leader of the race, leading by 3.5 seconds over Scott Dixon. There comes Scott off of corner number 6, and behind him is his Target Chip Ganassi teammate, Dario Franchitti. Running fourth is Ryan Briscoe. Elio is fifth. Then Wilson Canan, Ryan Hunter-Ray, Graham Rahal running ninth. Rafael Matos is in 10th position with 11 laps to go.
Speaking of the leader, Scott Dixon actually ran a last lap faster than Will Power, so there is potential there.
Yep.
And that would speak to our Target Chip Ganassi strategy. Let your fastest car go chase down Power. If you can somehow pass him and take the lead away from him, that's the biggest change in points you could ever get from first to second. So Scott Dixon got a nice run going.
Let's go down to Robbie Floyd.
Well, here's an interesting tidbit. We've been talking about Ryan Hunter-Ray and how his heart rate moves up, in those specific areas. But what about the pit crew? We thought we'd throw some biometric equipment on EJ Viso's team. I'm with Jim Leo from Pit Fit. Yeah. It's not just about the driver, the pit crew. They get that heart pumping as well.
Now, these guys work very, very hard, and their heart rates, as you'll see by the data here, their anticipatory heart rate's very high. The actual pit stop heart rate very high, and then the post pit stop heart rate remains high as adrenaline just slowly comes down.
All right, show me a little bit on this graph how it looks.
What we've got here is we've got EJ Viso's pit stop graphed out right in here. This is when they tell him, EJ, pit in, pit in.
Full course yellow out there right now. Looks like Bertrand Baguette with a problem. We'll come back with you in just a minute, Jim. Let's find out what happened out there on the track.
Well, we don't know, except that the nose cone has all been up on Bertrand Baguette's car, and he has stopped. We don't know exactly with whom he had contact.
Well, there was a good battle going on back there with Sato, yep. Matos. I mean, there it is. There's Matos leading.
So Sato shoots up the inside. Oh, and Baguette. And there's also...
He tried
Viso.
Going inside there, but Viso was already inside.
Yeah, Viso made it a sandwich.
And you can...
First pass is great. Sato gets in there perfectly, and then Baguette
had momentum to go by there, but that space was already taken by Viso, who was looking too ahead, and he's done, because you can see that left front suspension, that upper A-arm's got a bend in it.
But that 3-second lead that Will enjoyed over Scott Dixon is gone. Robbie, complete your thought here.
Well, I've got Jim Leo. He's going through the statics. All right, show me graphically what it looks like for these guys. When they hear the call, we're coming in.
Well, right here you can see this is a situation where they've been told pit in, pit in, pit in. He hasn't quite... they haven't seen the car yet. As they see the car, you see the excitement goes up. This is the outside front. Steve Moore, very cool character, doesn't quite get the high heart rate. This is the outside rear and fueler, and this is the actual stop. Steve Moore's heart rate comes back down. The other guys stay up high, so they peak it to the 180, 190, whereas Steve's a little bit lower, but that's why he's the crew chief. He's a cool character.
Steve Moore, what are we talking about beats per minute?
Well, Steve's running about 150 max heart rate during that stop. Ernie and DJ outside rear, and Fueler running 185, 190 for that 10, 15 seconds. And Ernie stays high in the 180s, 190s for a full 2 minutes afterwards.
All right, you're the man. So we talk about the athlete and Ryan Hunter-Reay running 170 something. What's it like for these guys out there pumping at 180? Is that a good thing?
It is. I think what happens is you'll see the excitement goes on. Every time a car goes by, the heart rates go up a little bit. And it's kind of an exciting thing.
Thanks a lot. He's talking about Steve Moore. He was outside our window here doing jumping jacks, getting ready for this.
Absolutely fascinating statistics there. Very, very good. There's Bertrand Baguette out of the car. He's okay, but we are under a full course caution. Well, at an autograph session, 11-year-old Brian McInerney befriended Will Power. He's a cerebral palsy patient, and Brian McInerney is now the #1 fan of Will Power, and you can bet that Brian is happy that Will is leading here at Sonoma. The final road course race of the year, and look at the history since 2003 in the stretch run. Dario with a win at Sonoma, Joliet and Homestead, and Dixon with a win at Sonoma, Kentucky and Motegi. We're headed for the stretch run with 4 ovals. Don't count Target Chip Ganassi drivers Franchitti and Scott Dixon out of the championship by any means. And don't count them out of this race, because the field is now bunched under this full course caution with 8 laps to go. Lindy?
And Mike Hall, who works with Scott Dixon. First of all, what's your strategy on this restart?
Well, everybody in America and around the world that's watching this thing knows you got to push the pedal hard. That's the strategy.
You go with different tires than Dario. Why'd you make your pick?
Well, you know, we want to win the race. Finishing second or third for us doesn't really do Scott Dixon any good, nor Team Target. We just decided, you know, the fuel, the time remaining, the tires matched. We'll take a shot at it.
And finally, based on what you've seen so far, you think you got anything for Will?
Well, I think what you're seeing today for us anyways is a great degree of teamwork with Target, because, you know, the guys in the pits as well as Dixon on the racetrack displayed what they displayed to get to where we are today, and that's the main thing for us.
Mike, thank you. Robbie?
I'm a Clive Howell. Clive, you've got to be loving things, don't you?
Yeah, 6 laps to go. We're in the lead. We've got red tyres on. We've got plenty of fuel. What isn't to love?
Is there any concern whatsoever?
No, as long as Will manages it properly, we're going to be in good shape. Everything mechanically is fine. You know, it's just up to him now. It's all up to Will.
Have there even been the slightest of concerns?
Tyres on the first stint we wore out, but we got less miles on these tyres, so we should be in good shape.
Everything looks good, Jackaroo, for Will Power.
All right, Robbie, here's exactly what Chip Ganassi just did. You know, Ganassi calls the shots on Dario Franchitti. He just switched his 2-way radio over and spoke directly to Scott Dixon while Lindy was talking to Mike Hall. He said, and I quote, "Hey, Scott, this is Ganassi." He said, 10-4. He says, "You know what you have to do." I'll tell you what, guys, when you get marching orders like that from the boss, you'd better depress the button.
You think his heart rate went up?
Yeah, he's some biometrics there. Oh, and you can see on that long shot, you can see the aggressive tire weaving, making sure, remember, it was Will Power in Toronto, was it not? Or Justin Wilson, sorry, right, in Toronto, who didn't get the tires clean enough on restart and was a sitting duck.
Yep. What is there not to love? That's the quote of the day, as far as I'm concerned.
So what is it that you think Dixon's got to do, guys?
I don't know.
He's got to let Will Power not get away from him on the restart job 1.
Yeah.
And then he's got to look for a slight mistake on cold tires with some pickup and pounce.
3, 4, and 5 are on blacks. 6 on back on red. So let's see what might change. Now we got the overtakes left up there in the right corner. Let's see who jumps on it here as the cars come down and now come off of corner number 11. Look
Top
at
3 already on it.
Yep.
Top 6 are all on it now. Everybody's thinking that game plan.
Green flag.
Oh, he's right on him.
Dixon, wow.
That was job 1, was to stay close, and he's right on him.
He sure is.
And this is the time right now. Look at, you can see Dixon working that wheel, his left hand coming up there, but he's got to fill Power's mirrors right now. He's doing it.
Will Power, you can hear a little bit of wheel spin. Dixon is trying everything to see, can he set him up here at the bottom of the hill and make a run into 7?
Through the carousel. Breaking point coming up at 7.
Oh, you saw Will check in the mirror.
Here he comes, looking to the inside. No.
Just trying to fake him out.
That's the teaser. That's the teaser.
The next passing zone will be turn number 9, which is about 3 little wiggles ahead, but he's not quite close enough yet.
Yeah, you have to be really close as you come through those sweet wings. Oh, Hideki.
Hideki is spun in 7.
Keep it moving so he can fire up out of there. Dixon didn't try anything as they got to that passing zone over there in 9.
Guys, remember at the pre-race show I told you about how those compression corners come into play? Think about it right now. Going into 1, 3, and 4, these two drivers are steering with a steering wheel that weighs 16 pounds.
Yeah. Adrenaline takes over in your body. I'm not sure they're thinking about any of that right now. You know, that's one thing that you just can't measure is what adrenaline does for you when you're in this position right now.
He's staying right there, Robbie. That's as close as he was last time through 4. And that's hard. You can just get an idea with that rear wing there, the aerodynamic wash coming off of that. That's taking the air right off of Dixon's car, and yet he's staying that close.
No full course caution, and Hideki Moto is fired again.
Oh, but they've got it.
Safety.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Well, they wanted to try and keep the course green,
and they did.
That was risky there.
Oof. We don't see that too often, where you have that truck that close to green. I mean, obviously they're waving yellow in that section, in that corner.
Versus non-stop will keep you up to date on what's happening, but Will Power is still in the lead, and Scott Dixon is still trying to get it from him as we have less than 5 laps to go now in the Indy Grand Prix of Sonoma on Versus.
The IndyCar Grand Prix of Sonoma on Versus is brought to you by Peak Performance Products. When you peak, you win. And by Apex Brazil. To learn more about our Brazilian goods and services, log on to experienceourenergy.com.
Excitement, that's peak performance. And it's electric.
Look out. Be sure everybody's safe with the new Peak backup camera system. With the Peak Jump Starter, you don't need another car to jump your dead battery, so there's no waiting. And the fun never stops with the Peak Power Inverter. It instantly converts your car's battery power to household power. Great as a mobile office or for tailgating.
Inside, outside, all around your car. When you peak, you win.
Does anyone else have to turn up the volume when they eat wheat thins? Someone needs to invent crunch-proof headphones. He will be surprised. Tim Parker, do you remember when you tweeted, does anyone else have to turn up the volume when they eat wheat thins? Someone needs to invent crunch-proof headphones. Yes. All right, well, guess what, pal? Straight from Wheat Thins Lab. No way. We're going to try this. Ready? Okay. That's a success. Let's roll. Bring it in. Come on, boys. Who's next?
Just another perfect day. I think I'll walk this way where the trees do sing. I'm feeling part of everything. And all my troubles seem to fade away. Skies look brighter.
The hybrid for everyone is here. The Insight, designed and priced for us all from Honda.
We know you want battles. We know you want border wars, a civil war, and a duel in the desert. You want the beehive boot, the bronze boot, and the spirit of Troy. You want cougars on horned frogs, cowboys on Aztecs. We know you want trophies made of axes and bells of victory. We know because we know college football. Catch Pittsburgh at Utah and Wisconsin at UNLV. The Mountain West and the Pac-10 on Versus.
The roads and streets of the 2010 Izod IndyCar season will forever be known for the dominance of one driver, Will Power, who's taken this season by storm after a horrific crash in Sonoma last year.
I remember thinking that's the end of my career.
That's the storyline that we started the show with, and it is a storyline that is continuing, and now with only 2 laps to go. Willpower is the man, and Danica Patrick has damage on the front end of her car. She is running in 16th position, but here is how it happened.
Sato to the right, on board with, Sato just kind of drove into her side there.
Yeah. Takuma is coming in for a stop. He has damage on his car also. Danica staying out, but a lot of damage on that car. Here is first and second.
And a little bit of traffic. I think that was Hideki that's right up in front of Power. What I'm really impressed with is, we heard Clive Howe say, hey, it's all up to Will. He's got plenty of gas. He's got the Firestone Reds on. It's his deal right now. But just when you get pressured at the end of this race, just shows his maturity and what he can get done.
The only thing he's worried about right now is that white Newman Haas entry ahead of him, Hideki Muto. He knows he's only got a couple to go, and he says, if I can get by him cleanly, I'll be okay. And Dixon, in the meantime, is saying, come on, Hideki, come on.
The white flag comes out. One more tour of the 2.3-mile course for Will Power.
Sato lost a little bit of ground as...
Not Sato. Dixon did, with Sato coming right out of the pit. He just lost about another car length, but a car length just is that much more cushion when Will kind of looks back behind him. Okay.
Yeah, Hideki just pulled over and let him go.
He did the right thing.
Was bent. That's what great sportsmanship.
But Scott has an even bigger chore now in the last half lap. And a car stopped in turn 11. Local yellow only in that area. That is the 36 car of Francesco Draconi. And here is Will Power up through the S's now.
He does have a spotter, so they'll be telling him what's happening down there. The good news is local yellow means no passing, which is the final race.
And you got 9. There's turn 10. Now that's setting up for 11.
Well, a year ago, he left this facility on a stretcher, and he himself admitted he didn't know whether his career continued. But from the stretcher last year to victory lane this year at Sonoma, Will Power wins his 5th event of the year. Dixon 1 second behind. Franchitti came in 3rd, then Briscoe. Elio. Justin Wilson finishes in 6th position. And the season continues. Will it continue for the next 4 races when we go to the ovals? Robbie?
A little sip of water for Clive. Choking on the word about the only thing that's went wrong for him today. That's about the only thing that's went wrong for you today, Clive.
Yeah, and then he choked on that water. No, it was good. Great. Super dominant. We wore the tires out a little bit, but he managed it well, and you just saw the result. Great.
What does this say for the team? The past 5 races, 3 wins, no worse than second.
This is good. I mean, we come together now. We just got to take this into the ovals.
And towards the ovals next week in Chicago. Are you already thinking about that right now?
Oh, yeah. We've been thinking about that for weeks. Coming back to the ovals. It's going to be fun. I think it's going to be good.
No worries there?
No. I think it's going to be good. He's going to shake that monkey, and we're going to be just fine.
The 5th win of the season for Will Power, and no other driver has more than 2 victories. It's the win Will in his open wheel career. Back in a moment. Will Power wins again. Here are the points and overall point standings after 13 of 17 races. Will Power has a 59-point advantage on Dario Franchitti. Dixon is 95 behind, and Briscoe and Elio Castroneves complete the top 5. We have had 6 different races here at Infineon Raceway and 6 different winners. Today's winner, Will Power.
And what a difference a year makes. And even 2 years really. Back here in 08, he started 3rd and finished 25th. Here comes the confetti. Let's go up and talk to him. Willpower, is this almost surreal to you that a year ago at this time you didn't even know if your career was over?
Yeah, it's unreal. I mean, what a perfect weekend to come back here. A year ago, lying in hospital watching this same race, and you know, I can't thank Roger Penske, Tim Cindric, and the Verizon guys, you know, to give me this fantastic opportunity. I'm just so happy.
Not only do you now have the Mario Andretti Trophy, you have a pretty big lead on Dario in the overall standings. We're about to go into an oval. Clive just said, I think he's shaking that monkey off of his back. What do you think about ovals?
Man, I'm going for it. I want to win this championship. I'm not sitting back. I'm not going to be stupid, but, man, I want to win an oval before the end of the year, and I want to win the overall championship.
How about Dixon coming up on you? You had a few close calls out there today.
Yeah, I was surprised at his pace, actually. Bit of pickup on the tires, and he was giving it to me at the end there, but you know, we held on. It was a tough race, a good race.
Well, I want to ask you about this little boy Brian that you met this weekend.
Yeah.
Who was so honored to be able to come to this race. He says his goal now that he's met you, he wants a life-size cutout. But what do moments like that and moments like this, how do they compare?
It's awesome, you know. That young kid in the wheelchair came to Macy's. He's such a nice little guy, and yeah, we're able to get him tickets, and he was going to come to the race next year. So yeah, I love doing that sort of thing, you know. Kids like him are so unfortunate. We don't know how fortunate we are to be able to, you know, walk and do everything that everyday people do. So, you know, very happy to do anything for a kid like that.
Well, we'll let you celebrate with your team. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And excellent words from Will Power, and that's Izod's salute to the winning performance. Victory Lane, Will Power wins here at Infineon Raceway. We'll be back with more in just a moment on Versus. The road and street courses on which Will Power has been so dominant, they're over. Now we have 4 ovals to go the rest of the way, and Versus will be there with all 4 of them, beginning next Saturday night at 7 o'clock Eastern from Chicagoland Speedway, and then on Saturday night, September 4th at 8 o'clock at Kentucky Speedway. The last 2 races of the year at Twin Ring Motegi on the 18th at 11 o'clock Eastern, and finally the Homestead Miami race Saturday, October 2nd at 6 o'clock Eastern. So the Target Chip Ganassi guys are still in it, Robbie.
Yes, and Dario Franchitti with 59 points behind now. You got a little bit of a frown on your face, but you were giving it 110 out there.
Yeah, we did what we could today. The whole Target team did a good job, but we just weren't quick enough to catch Will. We took blacks at the end there, and Scott was on red, so when I saw him coming up behind, I just let him go because I was hoping he was going to hunt Will down, and he did, and he gave it everything on the restart. We just didn't have quite enough to get by, but you know, we lost some points with that, but I think it was worth the gamble to see if Scotty could pass Will.
Well, you know what it's like to have a dominant car winning last year. Scotty, Chip comes across, he says, hey, it's Chip, you know what to do. What did he mean by that?
Well, you know, it's a tough situation. Obviously, Dario is the closest in the points battle, and that's what we got to try and work on, keep close for the ovals and try and really put the pressure on Will. But, you know, we went for the reds, and it seemed to be a lot quicker. We thought we'd have a go at Will, but I don't know whether he was just saving them a little bit earlier on that stint. I was catching him pretty quickly, but I think in turn I used mine up too much. But I gave it all I could on the restarts. I was trying to stick my nose in anywhere I could, and eventually it didn't come off.
Well, these guys not giving up as we make our final stretch down to Homestead with oval races.
Yes, sir, that is for sure. And Franchitti and Dixon finished 2nd and 3rd in the Mario Andretti road course standings. Well, Will Power now gets to drink the wine manufactured here in this beautiful area of Northern California. He wins today here at Sonoma. Scott Dixon's pit crew, there are Firestone pit performers of this race, spending a total of 1 minute, 9.1 seconds on pit lane. Down at Jackaroot.
Victory Lane, it is time for us to recognize the king of the road, the man that competed on all the road courses and scored the most points. And to make the presentation, it's only fitting that the road course trophy be named after, by the fans, a man that mastered not only the road courses, but the ovals as well. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mario Andretti. And now a man that has defined it this year. Mario, it's your turn to present it to Will Power, the Mario Andretti Road Course Champion. But there is still more before we talk to you, Will. The president of Honda Performance Development, Eric Berkman, is here to make a special presentation, along with the Mario Andretti Trophy, $50,000. And this is just the preamble to the chase for the championship. Will, you said in Victory Lane that now you want to go attack the ovals. You've already won and scored the Mario Andretti Trophy for the first time. What do you do to go after that big Izod IndyCar Trophy at the end of the season and the bonus check there?
Man, we just got to keep working hard. You know, we can't relax. Got a bit of a buffer now going to those 4 ovals, but man, I'm going to race like I want to win it. You know, I'm going to be like I have been all year. No mistakes and just get everything right. And I've got a fantastic team and sponsor in Verizon. You know, I can't thank Roger Penske and Tim Cindric enough for giving me a full-time ride this year and, you know, having faith in me to come back and be fast again.
Bob Jenkins, it's now up to Will Power to see if he can take home the ultimate championship in 2010 as well.
Will Power had 5 wins in 9 races. His lowest finish on a road course was 4th at Barber Motorsports Park. Coming up next, PBR. Be sure to tune in Saturday at 7 Eastern for the Peak Antifreeze and Motor Oil Indy 300 from Chicagoland Speedway. Izod, the official apparel sponsor of the Izod IndyCar Series, available at Macy's. For more information on the Izod IndyCar Series, log on to Versus.com. Will Power wins here today for Jan Beekes, Robbie Buell, Jack Arute, Robbie Floyd, and Lindy Paxton. I'm Bob Jenkins. We'll see you Saturday night at Chicagoland Speedway.